Spaceport Cornwall to become the UK's first operating spaceport. A customised Virgin Orbit 747 will be used to carry a rocket containing a payload of up to 7 microsatellites into orbit, and then the rocket will ferry them into space. Melissa Thorpe heads the project.
The number one priority is safety. So we had to ensure that our safety case was robust and ensuring that it is environmentally sustainable as it possibly can be with where the technology is. We're just really excited for Cornwall to be proud of how we're launching to space. We're really trying to challenge the industry to do things differently. We're putting great satellites into space that are going to go on to help people and the planet, but we're doing it in a way that's responsible. So that's something that Cornwall can be really proud of.
The first mission is due to blast off possibly within the next 2 weeks, with the Civil Aviation Authority calling the development a major milestone for the UK. So, beyond the Cornish pasties, the clotted cream, the beaches, and its own ancient language, Cornwall is set to enter the space race and make money out of it as well. The main news again. Nancy Pelosi, the first woman ever to serve as Speaker of the House of Representatives, is stepping down after the Democrats lost control of the chamber in last week's midterm elections. Britain's Chancellor has set out tens of billions of pounds in tax rises and spending cuts to try and stabilise the country's finances. And the Black Sea grain deal that has allowed wheat to leave Ukraine has been extended for another 4 months, easing fears of global food shortages. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
Friends of local man Carl Brewster told reporters this week they are all absolutely at a loss as to how he is not completely depressed.
I've known Carl for years now, and he really is a great guy, super nice. But honestly, I don't know how he doesn't go home and cry himself to sleep every night. I mean, walks dogs for a living, and no one will ever date him. I really don't get it.
Saying that they were baffled at how their close friend managed to remain even moderately happy day in and day out given his life circumstances, sources confirmed they were regularly confronted with Carl's perplexingly gregarious and affable demeanor.
I mean, Carl's life really sucks, but somehow he manages to wave good morning to me every time I see him, and he always has this big smile on his face. Maybe he's on some kind of medication.
Things have always been really awful for Carl, but he's never really been depressed. I mean, I make 3 times as much money as him, and I'm totally miserable. Honestly, we all thought he would have killed himself by now, but he hasn't.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program here. As always, you can join the show if you want to. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And it's Sam Bankman.
Oh, man, that guy. You're talking about the head of FTX. That's who Sam Bankman is.
Oh, I don't work for them anymore.
No, technically he doesn't, apparently.
I'm just in the Bahamas enjoying your crypto.
His billions of dollars that he took off the hands of his depositors. We actually have Joa here from Breaking the Flaw. Good evening, dude.
How's it going?
Good. It sounds like you've been following this FTX thing pretty closely.
Yeah, I've been really glued to it. I've been watching all of the news on that. But that's about the only news I've been watching.
Do you want to admit whether or not you had an account with FTX?
Oh, I did not have an account with FTX. Oh, I don't have none of my cryptos on the exchange. I'll admit that. Yeah, no, forget that. Even all the exchanges, they had they all released their books and sent out emails and stuff. And I'm looking at them like, I don't know if this is correct. These are even numbers. Like, what's going on here? I don't know if they really have it or not.
Yeah, you really can't trust these guys. I mean, if there is a trustworthy exchange out there, it's hard to know which one it would be. And even then, you still don't know if they're going to get hacked. So even the most honest exchange could still be under some sort of an attack from an outside source or even an insider. Yeah. Maybe somebody working in the tech support department or the engineering department is a bad guy, and then they have a backdoor access. Like what supposedly happened in this FTX case was just a couple days, like within hours or whatever, of them locking the doors, so to speak. Somebody snuck in the back door and took hundreds of millions of dollars of cryptocurrencies out.
When was this? Like recent?
This was like 2 days after they locked out their exchange.
Yeah.
Like right when they filed bankruptcy, that night I think it was, or the night before, somebody went in and literally stole hundreds of millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency out of the FTX vaults. So like whatever they had left was cleared out.
Where is the government on this? I mean, not that I expect the government to do anything on anything ever, but when there is actual crimes like this and money laundering and money disappearing, and do you think this is like something we want to look at?
Well, right now, I mean, he's based in the Bahamas, right? So when you say the government, do you mean the Bahamian government?
Well, I guess. And you know what? The United States, they have black ops. They could just sweep in with a helicopter, grab them, and then fly away. You know, they really could do this.
Well, they could. According to CNBC, in a bombshell emergency court filing, FTX said evidence suggests Bahamian regulators directed Bankman to gain unauthorized access to FTX systems to obtain digital assets belonging to the company after it had filed for bankruptcy protection. So apparently they then said that Bankman then transferred those assets to the custody of the Bahamian government. So according to this story at CNBC,
is it his payout?
Maybe the hack that happened after the site was quote-unquote shut down, the back door that was opened up and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of crypto emptied out from the accounts, maybe that went into the hands of the Bahamian government. Maybe they're protecting him. I don't know.
Jeez, that'd be wild.
I'm not sure what exactly they are alleging here. The filing said that Bankman transferred the assets to the custody of the Bahamian government, citing an interview by Vox on Wednesday where Bankman expresses serious disdain for regulators. This after this same character had been calling for regulation. This was Sam Bankman-Fried was the top voice for regulation of the cryptocurrency industry, and now he says this in the interview with Vox, quote, "F regulators, they make everything worse. They don't protect customers at all." And of course he's absolutely right about that, but that wasn't his attitude a week and a half ago.
Well, I think we all knew what he was about because his parents were heavy financial regulators, and it shouldn't have been a surprise.
I think his dad, I was just reading a little bit about his dad today. He's a college professor, and he is a psychologist, I believe. So he's not a financial regulator, but what he did do was he wrote extensively about kind of the, I think it was like anxiety or something like that, and how that could relate to lowering tax fraud. Like there was some sort of medication or whatever.
Oh, I'm sure they fine-tune these things.
He's a big statist, right? Like he wasn't a regulator per se from what I was reading, but he believes in it, right? Like he believes in regulation, he believes in taxation, and he wanted to figure out ways to get tax compliance to be higher. So his dad and his mom, I think to some extent as well, she's some sort of psychologist also. And so these are two people who love the government. They love big government. And so to hear Sam Bankman say F regulators is really shocking to me.
Hypocritical.
Like, I mean,
galore.
Good for him for, changing his mind on that. Maybe he...
That's not how it's going down, though, Ian. Like, he had all these things in mind beforehand. He set the motions in place. He let these collapses happen the way he wanted it to. He knew that it was going to catch up to him, and he has them, tweets in play, right? He's been numbering them. It's weird. And it's really strange. Like, he almost did it all on purpose. Like, all these tweets are on purposely planned and to be released timely. He's playing the game as hard as he can, and he's good chance he's going to get away with it because of it,
Well, he's going to get away with it if he gets away with it because he gave millions of dollars to the establishment. He gave $40 million, I think was what it was, to the Democratic establishment. So why are they going to touch him? I mean, he admitted in a video that I saw yesterday evening that, and this was like in an interview he did a year ago, he admits that he lied to banks in order to open bank accounts.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they're accusing the Crypto 6 of. One of the things they're accusing the Crypto 6 of. But I guarantee you they're not going to arrest him and charge him with bank fraud.
No.
Guarantee you.
It doesn't seem like it.
So a little bit more here from the CNBC story. The accusations that, again, he had given a lot of crypto funds to the Bahamian government were made by FTX. So remember, he's no longer the CEO of FTX.
Right.
There's this regulator type that has taken over FTX, who apparently was involved in he took over Enron when Enron was going down the tubes. So the same guy has been brought in to assess what's going on with FTX. Sure. The accusations were made by FTX in a motion in bankruptcy court. In that motion, they said the alleged conduct puts, quote, in serious question, unquote, a request by Bahamian regulators for recognition as liquidators in the bankruptcy. Quote, in connection with investigating a hack on Sunday, November 13th, Bankman and FTX co-founder Gary Wang stated in recorded and verified text that Bahamas regulators instructed that certain post-petition transfers of debtor assets be made by the men who debtors understand were both effectively in the custody of the Bahamas authorities, and that such assets were, quote, custodied on fire blocks under control of the Bahamian government. I don't know what fire blocks means. I'm not sure what that terminology means. Yeah. But it sounds like what they're alleging here is that Sam Bankman-Fried and his co-founder were in custody of the Bahamian government, and they literally told them to transfer all their funds out, whatever else they could get out from the system. This is after they declared bankruptcy.
That sounds like a ledger, like it's about Fireblock. It sounds like a ledger or something.
What? Yeah, a ledger, like you mean the hardware wallet or an actual ledger?
I don't know. I know there's hot wallets and cold wallets, right? Mm-hmm. So Fire sounds like a hot wallet, something that can be easily moving. That I'm just guessing.
I don't know. Sam Bankman said, "You know what was my biggest single F up? Chapter 11." So he's very sorry, apparently, that he filed for bankruptcy.
With what country? Bahamas?
That's another good question. I think they did this. No, apparently it's in Delaware. So he had a U.S. Division, right? Yeah. So FTX was one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges on the planet, like number 4 or 5 or something like that by volume. And then he had a separate exchange called FTX US that initially, when FTX had locked down their platform, FTX US was still operating, and he was acting like, no, everything's fine. FTX, the U.S. side is totally fine.
Probably
and then a day later, that got locked down and they filed for bankruptcy. So the number here is 603-283-6160. The Starbucks employees are striking at 100-plus stores. You can share your thoughts with us and bring up whatever's on your mind. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com. There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com. which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and coming up here, we're going to get into the Starbucks. Apparently 100-plus stores striking. We'll talk about what's going on there. It's Ian and Joa here tonight. The number is 603-283-6160. We were talking about this situation involving FTX that has become what is being described as a contagion. And what that means is there are a lot of other sort of not even related sites or, I guess, organizations that weren't owned by FTX, because FTX did have their fingers financially into a whole bunch of organizations, and there was like 130 different companies that were included in the bankruptcy filing last week. But there's other companies that weren't owned by FTX, but apparently they had millions of dollars worth of customer funds of theirs on FTX. And so now that FTX has been frozen due to the bankruptcy filing and being not having any liquidity or very little of it to process withdrawals, these other companies have also frozen withdrawals. So there was one called Gemini Earn, which is related to the Gemini Exchange, which, again, not owned by FTX. But the Gemini Exchange, one of the oldest exchanges out there, apparently they had some sort of dealings with FTX, and so now their Earn product is completely frozen. There's another one called Salt, which was one of those lending companies where you could give them your cryptocurrency. Like, let's say you had a whole Bitcoin, and you wanted to get a loan for $5,000, right? Like Bitcoin right now is worth about $16,000. Let's say you wanted a loan for $4,000. You'd have to give them the whole Bitcoin, and then they'd give you $4,000 as a loan. So basically, they would hold the Bitcoin that was worth 4 times.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies that do this.
Yeah. So that company has frozen withdrawals, frozen deposits at this point. Again, they weren't owned by FTX. So that's what they're calling the contagion, where there's all these other companies in this.
Well, people are blaming FTX on the Luna crash.
That's true as well. Yeah, they're saying that this Sam Bankman was behind the attack on Luna/Terra, which was the big decentralized stablecoin that crashed and burned earlier this year. It was a huge destruction of value. That thing was like, I think it was over $20 billion or close to $20 billion in value, and it was all gone within.
I played it so good.
Days.
I played it riding up. I was like, all right, here we go. And then I'm like, this is getting awfully sus. And I pulled it. It was like right at the top. And then I put it in at the very, very bottom.
Bitcoin.com, by the way, is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there and click Get Started at the top of the page, because as much as the haters want you to believe, Bitcoin is not going away.
No.
This is not going to be the end of cryptocurrency. There's a lot of proclamations out there that FTX is going to somehow sink Bitcoin, or it's going to sink cryptocurrency. And certainly the price has taken a dip. There's no doubt about that. And the price overall in the last year has been trending downward. But of course, it's still higher than it was 3 years ago. Let's keep that in mind. Keep perspective. Always zoom out.
Absolutely.
Whenever you're looking at the cryptocurrency.
It's still early
price.
in its phases.
Yeah, absolutely.
The amount of people that actually have invested. We probably have a lot less investors now.
Well, this is going to scare some people away.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. In fact, I had a story about how millennials are now less interested in purchasing cryptocurrency compared to last year. It was like 50-something percent last year. Now it's at 30%, apparently, of millennials that are interested in buying crypto. And people have been spooked, and that's understandable. But, over time, I think it's going to be shown that Bitcoin is resilient, just as it has been shown with every other exchange failure that has ever happened. I mean, FTX is just the latest, and no doubt it's a big one, right? Like, I don't want to minimize the importance of what has happened over the last week. But it's not the first one to have a problem, to go down, to go out of business.
Right.
And it won't be the last.
I just want to make it clear to people that with everything that's going on with FTX, this is not, they've called hacks and stuff like that, but this guy is literally, taking your money and then giving it to somebody else and claiming that your money's still there.
That's what he did, yep.
Right. So that's wrong. You got to know where you're going to, if you're going to invest or, buy crypto, whatever it is you're going to do with crypto, make sure that you're in charge of it. That
not
you
your
are
keys,
banking.
not your coins.
That's right. And it's so it can't be stressed enough for you guys to know what to do with crypto and how it functions, because once you start letting somebody else take control of it, it's gone.
Yeah, that's why you really do need to take the time to learn about this thing. And we've been saying that forever, right? Don't just take our word for it. The technology is very exciting. It is potentially world-changing. Arguably, it already has changed the face of finance, because that's why you see all these governments around the world trying to catch up and say, "Oh, we can do digital too. We're going to do a CBDC." And I know you had a story about that here tonight too, so we can definitely talk about that. But go to Bitcoin.com, click Get Started at the top of the page, and go through at the very bare minimum the first video, 3 minutes. Watch that one. Dig deeper if you want to. Try to understand some of the new concepts that are involved here. This is a currency that you can have control of. You can also let somebody else hold it for you, but that's a seriously risky move, as we've seen in just the last week. So Bitcoin.com, click Get Started. You want to get the latest news headlines, go to news.bitcoin.com. You'll find them there. The site is very deep. There's a lot of information there, but get started by clicking Get Started at the top of the page at Bitcoin.com. We continue here with Major Payne. He's on the line in Michigan. Go ahead, Major.
Oh, good Lord. I didn't expect you to bump me in so quick, son.
Here you are.
All right. Well, I called an area last night talking about the old Magic Bank man there.
Yeah.
And, he seems he's hiding in Bermuda. One of my thoughts is that an American territory? Is he extraditable?
I don't know. He's in the Bahamas, according to this, not Bermuda. And,
Bermuda. That's right. Yep.
And isn't Bahamas a British territory? Or was it once upon a time? I don't know offhand.
I think Bahamas is the United States, right?
No, it's not the United States. And I'm looking here to see, it may be its own independent. Yeah, okay. Declared independence from the United Kingdom in 1973. So it is its own nation. So presumably it's extraditable. I mean, I think there's only a handful of places on the planet that are not extraditable. But anyway, go on.
Well, it just came to my attention that come December 30th, This guy is sponsored for a big deal, sponsored by the New York Times, where the New York mayor is going to be the first speaker. He, old billfold boy there, is going to be the second speaker. And then they're going to have the CEO of Twitter and the CEO of Amazon and all these highfalutin, big buck, daddy warbucks, SOBs.
Yeah, I heard about this.
I really can't figure this one, but it's rattled my cage.
Yeah, I have heard that the Bankman is supposed to be at this conference, but it wouldn't surprise me if they canceled him at this point.
I hope he does go and he gets scrutinized on the way in.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Thank you, Major, for the call tonight. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. So, yeah, you can contest it according to this one website I'm looking at here right now. If you were in the Bahamas, you don't immediately get extradition, but there's probably, it just depends on who's going to pay him the most, basically.
I hope Bankman comes in.
More coming up.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks.
I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress.
Nancy Pelosi, the first woman ever to serve as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is standing down after the Democrats lost control of the chamber in last week's midterm elections. She made the announcement after the Republicans learnt they will form the majority in the House next January, but she is staying on as a backbencher. With more from FSN's Washington Bureau, Caroline Malone.
The Republican Party has just clinched the majority in the House in midterm elections. A number of election deniers who openly supported former President Trump's claims he won the 2020 election did not get into office in the midterms. And Pelosi made reference to that in her speech.
With these elections, the people stood in the breach and repelled the assault on democracy. They resoundingly rejected violence and insurrection, and in doing so, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
A younger generation will vie to be the new Democratic Party leader, following on from what President Biden has called the most consequential speaker in our history.
Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, has set out tens of billions of pounds in tax rises and spending cuts, as FSN's Ollie Barrett reports from our London bureau.
It's a political tightrope that Jeremy Hunt is trying to walk. Tax rises and spending cuts set out over the years to come. He says it's necessary to shore up public finances. His critics say it could push the economy further into the recession that Jeremy Hunt acknowledges it's probably already in.
The Black Sea grain deal that has allowed wheat to leave Ukraine despite the ongoing conflict there has been extended for another 4 months, easing fears over global food shortages. The deal was set to expire this weekend, and the UN says it will now work on resolving remaining differences between Moscow and Kiev over the arrangement. A Dutch court has convicted 3 men over the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 over Ukraine in 2014. 1 Ukrainian suspect and 2 Russians were handed life sentences, while another was acquitted, but none of the defendants has been extradited, and they are unlikely to face jail time. On special assignment for us in Amsterdam, FSN's Julia Chapman.
The court found 3 men guilty of murder, deciding there was sufficient evidence that they moved a missile system from Russia into Ukraine and were responsible for its use. But the real significance of this ruling is what it says about Moscow's involvement. The court judged that Russia had overall control of the breakaway regions of eastern Ukraine when the plane was downed in 2014. For years, Moscow has been accused of fomenting unrest and providing weapons to separatists there. It has always denied doing so.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Is Free Talk Live. You can join the show here. It's Ian and Joa in the studio tonight. The number is 603-283-6160. We're talking about the latest on the FTX fallout, the contagion, as it is being called, where companies all across the crypto field are not quite shutting down in some cases, although the ones connected to FTX certainly have. But the ones that maybe had assets on FTX, this exchange that just went under essentially a week ago, I think it was about a week, maybe just over a week ago at this point, that other companies have been freezing withdrawals, freezing deposits. They're assessing their situation, and we may see further bankruptcies. We may see further destruction that could be taking people's savings with them. And of course, that's one of the most tragic parts. I mean, I don't mind seeing a man fall from grace who is the largest advocate, the largest voice for regulation in the crypto field, this Sam Bankman.
Well, I got breaking news for you.
But I don't like seeing average people losing over making mistake. And you know, the new user to crypto, they don't know about not your keys, not your coins. All they've heard was, ooh, number go up. I got to get this thing where number go up. And then they go on a website like a Coinbase or an FTX or something like that. They buy the thing that they think is going to go up over time.
Well, I don't know if you remember.
And they leave it there.
Remember when Coinbase went public? That's when Bitcoin started to drop.
Did it?
Yeah, it was right at that time. I remember that. It was like almost a year ago now they went public.
I feel like it's been longer than that. But what's the breaking news?
All right, breaking news. FBI is planning to extradite Sam Bankman-Fried back to the United States. Well, I mean, it also says, according to Bloomberg News, American and Bahamian officials are exploring possibilities of extraditing FTX founder Sam Bankman for questioning.
Questioning?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Can they extradite somebody for questioning?
That's interesting. I mean, well, that's like when a cop asks you to get out of your vehicle. He hasn't told you.
You're under arrest.
He hasn't told you. Yeah, he hasn't told you you're under arrest yet. So once they get him into custody, you're under arrest. Let's hope.
I think you're probably right about that. Well, I mean, look, this guy definitely. I mean, it looks like he scammed people. It looks like this thing might have been a scam from the very beginning. Some people are saying that there were back doors that were programmed into the system that he then allegedly used. Obviously, we don't know who the hacker was, but it was some insider who knew that these back doors existed. Yes. And this guy is supposedly known as a talented hacker. That's what I've seen in the sort of the crypto Twitter posts about Sam Bankman, that he's good at this stuff.
I heard that he's talented at getting hot girls, and he's
No, he's not. Have you seen his girlfriend?
Well, no. Yes, I've seen her.
Okay.
But we all have seen her. But and there's some unpleasant photos of her out there now.
Oh my.
Yeah, from the parties. So this is really interesting. But he's had luxurious parties, orgies, all other kinds of crazy experiences in his presence.
I've heard there's a lot of amphetamine usage at the office.
A lot of drugs, Yep. Not surprised by any of that. And I'm wondering who of his clients are also involved in that kind of thing. And not that it's my personal business, but if he could be, leveraging or, I don't want to accuse him of doing something, but maybe very similar to Jeffrey Epstein type stuff going on to keep people hush.
There are some allegations that there was this story, Joa, that came out literally, I don't know, a week before the FTX crash and burn happened. And I'd intended to talk about it here, but we didn't get to it. So I'm just going to bring this one up because it's pretty crazy.
You mean the pandemic thing?
Did you hear? No. Did you hear about the guy who's a crypto programmer who died in Puerto Rico?
No.
So according to Thor Maximalist on Twitter, this is a crypto libertarian sounding guy that is one of the guys I follow. Thor Maximalist is his name. He said there's a guy who was a programmer of the DAI cryptocurrency, DAI. And this is a decentralized stablecoin. It's the most popular one ever since Terra Luna died earlier this year. It crashed and burned, almost completely dead. DAI was the number 2.
I didn't know that.
Central stablecoin at that time. It's now number 1. The programmer, one of the original programmers, he was 29 years old. He died in Puerto Rico. And he died in a mysterious circumstance in the water at the beach in an area that supposedly has riptides or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So supposedly he just got caught up in some dangerous currents. But he literally died weeks after typing this on Twitter. Quote, from September 4th. He died at let's see, when was this? The end of October. Quote, 3 possible futures for me. 1, suicided by the CIA. 2, CIA brain damage slave asset. 3, worst nightmare of people who effed with me up until now. I'm sure these are the only options. But then 2 days before, that was a few weeks before he died. 2 days before he died, he tweets this. CIA and Mossad and pedo elite are running some kind of sex trafficking entrapment blackmail ring out of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean islands. They are going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-girlfriend who was a spy. They will torture me to death.
Wow.
2 days later, he turns up dead floating in the Atlantic Ocean.
Well, waterboarding, let's just assume it's connected there, that he was waterboarded or somehow. Drowning is a horrible experience, especially if they prolong your drowning and pull you up last second. They keep doing that. That is one of the most torturous ways to go.
So you got this guy who's a crypto insider. He's a programmer in the same area. He's Puerto Rico. He's down in the islands talking about a pedophile ring with the CIA, etc. And then you hear about Sam Bankman-Fried allegedly wearing pedophile logos on his clothing.
I'd like to see that. Do you have...
So there's an image of him on his Twitter account. And if you look at the image of him on his Twitter account, it's like a graphic. It's like like somebody drew a picture of him.
All right.
But on his shirt, they're saying that the logo that's there is similar to did you ever see that FBI report that came out?
You mean the spiraling triangle?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of the spirally things.
Yeah.
And there was an FBI report that came out that said that these spirals or whatever are images of pedophiles, secret pedophile rings or something like that. Now, whether the FBI knows what the hell they're talking about on that, it could have been misinformation. I don't know. But it's just one of those things. And they showed the logo of Alameda Research, which was his company, and then the logo that was on his shirt. And one of them was for the boy pedophiles, and the other one was from the female ones.
I know this because of several things. Obviously, the Pizzagate stuff, and then
that's when we first heard about it.
And then I saw it on True Detective, believe it or not, the TV show, the first season, and they showed off the actual FBI printout. So everyone should have known about it then. I even this is a side story, but I went to Cape Cod and went to Provincetown. I went to this hippie shop, and they let me film. I haven't released the video yet, but I asked for permission. They gave me permission to film, and I found a case of jewelry that had all the pedophile symbols all in one case.
See, here's the thing. It's it's not an uncommon pattern for humans to draw, though, either, right?
No,
but spiral.
This was no coincidence. I mean, I'm not trying to associate with the gay town, P-town, Provincetown, but yes, there is heavy presence of these things there, and out of all there's tons of jewelry. I mean, this jewelry, 100 feet long of cases and jewelry galore. And then there's just one little case, 2 feet wide by 2 feet long, of just pedophilia rings. And you can go to this place and confirm it. And I'll release the video.
They're spiral rings. I mean, I hesitate to jump to the conclusion that every spiral means you've got a pedophile.
No, but this was a triangled spiral, and right next to it was the double butterfly, which is the girl love symbolism.
Okay.
And then the boy love right next to it. It wasn't coincidence. It was literally
and
they
I don't
put
know if
them
that's
there.
true about SBF either. That's just,
I know.
You hear
All right.
a lot of,
sidetracking
You
there.
hear a lot of stuff. Did we even get to the news? I don't even know if you got to say what the
Oh,
breaking
no.
news was.
So, yeah, before FTX collapsed, right?
Yeah.
You were just talking about before all this happened.
Right.
Founder, Sam Bankman, poured millions into pandemic prevention. So when the coronavirus pandemic hit and the world shut down in the spring of 2020, many more and the loss of life, jobs, and normalcy. Bankman, cryptocurrency entrepreneur, and his brother Gabe, 25-year-old congressional staffer, said the pandemic provided them with something else, an opportunity to make a difference.
We'll talk about that coming up here. Well, that's what his whole gig was about.
Yeah,
he was
now
always about talking about how he's going to help people, etc. More coming up here in moments. This is Free Talk Live.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. The number is 603-283-6160. Just had somebody call in asking if we were on the air. It's like, dude, we're on the air 7 nights a week, 7 to 10 at night Eastern Time. If it is between those hours, then we are on the air. Unless the studio's been hit by a tornado, we're going to be on the air. And that could include the FBI, by the way. They've raided our studio a couple of times in the last decade, and that has delayed our broadcast somewhat when that has happened. But we've always come back on the air like within 24 hours.
Right.
So we've been pretty reliable, and very rarely are we not on the air. It's like 7 days a week. We are live, 7 to 10 at night Eastern. You can join us, of course, anytime on the phones. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. I want to get further into your story, Joa, here. You brought up this, was it Washington Post?
Yeah, it's the Washington Post.
About, this is one of the pieces that people are saying is essentially a puff piece for FTX and for Sam Bankman, where they're saying, oh, he was such a good guy. Oh, this is so terrible. Good boy. Yeah, look at all these things he was doing. He was going to help with the pandemic. And apparently there's been this big New York Times puff piece where they haven't said jack diddly about him stealing people's money. And it's all been about like, oh, it was just a mistake. Poor Bankman.
Well, it's saying that FTX, through Bankman, they undertook a project to spend potentially billions of dollars on pandemic prevention, a long-neglected priority on Capitol Hill.
Potentially billions of dollars. What billions of dollars they didn't have, it sounds like. Billions of dollars was not theirs to spend. When you deposited money on FTX.
No, they're not spending your money. This is their philosophy called effective altruism.
Yes, that's what they pitched constantly, was that they were good guys.
Yeah, they weren't doing it for themselves at all or anybody else. They were doing it because of the kindness of their heart.
Right, it wasn't all about Sam Bankman. That's why he was putting himself up on every advertisement for FTX, including the sides of not just billboards, but entire buildings with his face on them. Because it wasn't all about him or anything.
No, but here's the thing is, like, if you read into this article a bit further, right? It's like, yeah, maybe it's going to help with this pandemic, allegedly, right? But then you read it. It's like campaign donations and other initiatives intended to improve biosecurity and prevent the next pandemic. Biosecurity?
What is that?
That just sounds like you're trying to get like no contact sort of,
That sounds like you got a chip in your hand.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. Biosecurity, right? Yeah. They're trying to make it so that we don't have to touch bills, dollar bills, and that would be great. I wouldn't want to touch another dollar bill in my life, but they're trying to bring on the CBDC, and that's
central bank digital currency,
right? And that could be like one of his ways to convince everyone. Oh, you don't have to touch money again. We can use the CBDC, which is secure and traceable and all this jazz. But obviously traced by the psychopaths in charge.
The Federal Reserve would have total control over the CBDC.
Yes, yeah. And it just goes on and on. This is a little funny thing here. It says, while Sam Bankman-Fried's spending had invoked comparisons to public health champions like Bill Gates and political makers like George Soros, some commentators, former allies, now suggest other parallels, such as disgraced Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes, who vowed to revolutionize healthcare. They're comparing him to someone that's great, even though these people that they're mentioning are not so great.
Sure.
But they're trying to prop him up.
Yes, they are.
And he really isn't anyone special. You guys got to read his tweets.
He's just a dork. He's this dorky kid who does not take good care of himself. Obviously, he is in bad shape. And he's constantly on drugs, which, again, I don't have a problem if you're using drugs, whatever. Yeah. I don't care about that. But if you're in charge of billions of dollars of other people's money and you're just popping amphetamines like crazy all day, doing God knows what with other people's money, I mean, taking crazy risks, that's pretty irresponsible.
Apparently, he was taking a drug that people that have, what do you call it? They have the sheikhs, Muhammad Ali and the other guy. It's Parkinson's. Yes, Parkinson's disease. He's taking his medication. He doesn't have Parkinson's. Doesn't seem like it.
Just because he's going to get a rush off it, right?
Yes, it's a wicked brain drug, and it also heightens your sort of reactionary sort of responses. So he might have just completely messed up on this whole FTX trading thing. I think it was in the works for a while.
It was a plan.
Yeah, but if this guy is an egotistical maniac and he's just running this business the way he wants, and no one's listening to him in his firm or whatever, I could see it all being placed on him, which is how they're trying to set it all up, in my opinion, because he's going to be the fall guy, and he might go to federal prison with tennis courts or something.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't think so. I mean, maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I mean, how can he go to federal prison after giving $40 million to the Democratic Party? Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
That's not why you give $40 million to politicians. You expect something in return for that. So
I like one of the tweets that he said, and this is number 14, my goal. Clean up and focus on transparency. Well,
too late, bro. It's
focus
gone.
on transparency. Dude, you're supposed to be transparent from the beginning.
The money's gone.
You're not going to focus transparency. You just need to be transparent.
Well, and then apparently the guy who's running FTX made a statement today where he said Sam Bankman-Fried is no longer in charge of FTX. He has no active role with the company. So all this stuff he's been saying, last I looked was last night. It was down to like number 30. You read number 14. He's just been going for 2 days.
Yeah.
And it's all about how he's going to try to get customers' money back, and he's focused on the customers. And the guy who's running the company, I was like, this guy's not involved anymore. So all the stuff he's saying has absolutely no validity whatsoever. Like, even if somebody wanted to believe him, he doesn't have a company now.
Right. And
that's over.
Yes, it's done. And by the way, the name of the company that he was funding to help with the pandemic, it was called Guarding Against Pandemics.
Right. Wasn't his brother running it? Did
yes,
you say?
It was his brother.
How convenient. So he was going to take $1 billion or whatever from FTX and then shuffle it over to his brother for quote unquote pandemic whatever.
I almost feel like it's kind of threatening, right? Oh, don't let us fall. Don't let me fall because I was trying to save you all from the pandemic, right? And it's like, oh, now that I'm falling, guess what, guys? Round 2.
This fat tub of lard wasn't going to do anything about the pandemic. I mean, if anybody looked at him and said he's the paragon of good health, they were just absolutely deluding themselves.
Right.
This guy's eating fast food all day.
Well,
I mean, he's never lifted a weight to save his life.
This is all part of like the structure that they're trying to build. They're trying to build, okay, pandemic's coming back. We need to have a currency that you can't touch. It just seems like it's all falling in place, what he was trying to do, and he's going to get it. I mean, maybe not him, but the world's going to get it.
Going to get what?
This CBDC. At least they're doing a 12-week program is what they're going to experiment with. And then we're not going to bat an eye in 12 weeks and because it's going to work and function perfectly, right? And then they're just going to implement it. That's how it's going to
be right away. It's government. It's going to take years for that to come out.
But it doesn't. But people's attention spans, though. It doesn't matter.
But they haven't yet approved it. So what they're doing right now is they're doing a trial, and they're going to come back with the results, and they're going to report back to because it's the New York Federal Reserve, I think, that's doing the trial with TD Bank and Bank of America, a lot of the big banks. So they're doing this sort of interbank transfer thing, which of course what Ripple was supposed to be originally. The Ripple cryptocurrency was supposed to help banks transfer.
XRP. Ripple is just the company.
Okay, whatever.
I'm just trying to make that clear. Yeah,
XRP is called Ripple, isn't it?
Yeah, but when people say Ripple, you're associating with the company out there, the investing company.
Well, they made it.
Did they?
I'm pretty sure they did. I don't know. It's been around for a long time.
They might have been part of developing, but I don't know.
Well, they're the ones pushing it. They're the ones who are trying to get banks on board.
Right.
The whole vision for Ripple was that it was going to be an interbank currency that sped the process up rather than having to use the Federal Clearinghouse or the SwiftWire system or whatever. They would use Ripple. Of course, now the feds are going after Ripple in an SEC lawsuit, much like going after the LBRY. And LBRY, unfortunately, lost their suit. So, I mean, I don't know how that's going to pan out for Ripple.
And Ripple's been saying, well, let's go. Let's. They've been asking to, let's go to court. Let's go to court. Let's get the regulations set in place so we know what the game is. And that's exactly what they do. in almost any time the government does something where it's, legalizing, it's like a gray area in the market and what's happening, it's always the big players trying to swallow up everything while these
so
entrepreneurs.
They don't want Ripple. The big players don't want Ripple involved. They want to cut them out of the picture. They want to do their own thing. That's what the CBDC is going to come in for.
Right. And what I think is going to happen with the CBDC is that they're going to throw it out there. It's going to get onto the big exchanges, and people are going to realize, it is fairly stable. And then they're going to swap their crypto into it.
Do you think the exchanges are going to have the CBDC?
Yes, I do. I think these big ones that are going along with everything. And then as soon as you convert into CBDC to hold, because you see crypto going down because you're doing day trading or whatever, and then as soon as you put any of that in CBDC, it's going to be tracked. Everything you do from that point on is going to be tracked.
Of course. That's what they want. The number 603-283-6160. You can bring up whatever you want to talk about. The Starbucks strike is underway. We'll talk about that.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks.
I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress.
Nancy Pelosi, the first woman ever to serve as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is standing down after the Democrats lost control of the chamber in last week's midterm elections. She made the announcement after the Republicans learnt they will form the majority in the House next January, but she is staying on as a backbencher. With more from FSN's Washington Bureau, Caroline Malone.
The Republican Party has just clinched the majority in the House in midterm elections. A number of election deniers who openly supported former President Trump's claims he won the 2020 election did not get into office in the midterms, and Pelosi made reference to that in her speech.
With these elections, the people stood in the breach and repelled the assault on democracy. They resoundingly rejected violence and insurrection, and in doing so, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
A younger generation will vie to be the new Democratic Party leader, following on from what President Biden has called the most consequential speaker in our history.
Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, has set out tens of billions of pounds in tax rises and spending cuts, as FSN's Ollie Barrett reports from our London bureau.
It's a political tightrope that Jeremy Hunt is trying to walk. Tax rises and spending cuts set out over the years to come. He says it's necessary to shore up public finances. His critics say it could push the economy further into the recession that Jeremy Hunt acknowledges it's probably already in.
The Black Sea grain deal that has allowed wheat to leave Ukraine despite the ongoing conflict there has been extended for another 4 months, easing fears over global food shortages. The deal was set to expire this weekend, and the UN says it will now work on resolving remaining differences between Moscow and Kiev over the arrangement. A Dutch court has convicted 3 men over the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 over Ukraine in 2014. One Ukrainian suspect and 2 Russians were handed life sentences, while another was acquitted, but none of the defendants has been extradited, and they are unlikely to face jail time. On special assignment for us in Amsterdam, FSN's Julia Chapman.
The court found 3 men guilty of murder, deciding there was sufficient evidence that they moved a missile system from Russia into Ukraine and were responsible for its use. But the real significance of this ruling is what it says about Moscow's involvement. The court judged that Russia had overall control of the breakaway regions of eastern Ukraine when the plane was downed in 2014. For years, Moscow has been accused of fomenting unrest and providing weapons to separatists there. It has always denied doing so.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. When you think of rockets blasting off into space, you probably associate that kind of imagery with Cape Canaveral in Florida or Baikonur in Kazakhstan. You almost certainly do not think of the town of Newquay in Cornwall. But all of that is about to change. The British government's Civil Aviation Authority has just granted a licence to Spaceport Cornwall to become the UK's first operating spaceport. A customised Virgin Orbit 747 will be used to carry a rocket containing a payload of up to 7 microsatellites into orbit, and then the rocket will ferry them into space. Melissa Thorpe heads the project.
The number one priority is safety. So we had to ensure that our safety case was robust and ensuring that it is environmentally sustainable as it possibly can be with where the technology is. We're just really excited for Cornwall to be proud of how we're launching to space. We're really trying to challenge the industry to do things differently. We're putting great satellites into space that are going to go on to help people and the planet, but we're doing it in a way that's responsible. So that's something that Cornwall can be really proud of.
The first mission is due to blast off possibly within the next 2 weeks, with the Civil Aviation Authority calling the development a major milestone for the UK. So, beyond the Cornish pasties, the clotted cream, the beaches, and its own ancient language, Cornwall is set to enter the space race and make money out of it as well. The main news again. Nancy Pelosi, the first woman ever to serve as Speaker of the House of Representatives, is stepping down after the Democrats lost control of the chamber in last week's midterm elections. Britain's Chancellor has set out tens of billions of pounds in tax rises and spending cuts to try and stabilise the country's finances. And the Black Sea grain deal that has allowed wheat to leave Ukraine has been extended for another 4 months, easing fears of global food shortages. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
This year's Coachella Music Festival is happening right now. And that means one thing: the largest gathering of contact jugglers in the world. All the biggest names from the sea juggling scene are performing all over the festival, including Mr. Tomorrow, Isis, White Angel, Chad Brunstein, and of course, the legendary Conundrum. Our own Lena Perez is live at Coachella.
This music festival is a who's who of org masters and jugglement.
What have the highlights been so far?
Well, Yasu Kaitu did his first stateside performance in 3 years over by the Smoothie Tent, which was amazing. And there was festival favorite Hans Hansman freestyling in his usual spot near the portable toilets. But I'm really excited for Becca Flannery Miller. She's 4'5", wears transition lenses, and is a master of the multi-ball.
I love her. And I heard there was a surprise late night set from the Winterhorn Brothers.
Yeah, right outside the DJ tent. It was an unbelievable flurry of spearsmanship.
I wish I was there.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, kicking off the second hour here. We're still digging into this FTX situation that some people are calling a contagion because a lot of companies were tied in with FTX, a lot of them. And now a lot of people are hurting because they didn't follow the most basic rule of cryptocurrency, and that is not your keys, not your coins.
Yeah.
Meaning that in the world of crypto, you have the ability to control your own coins, your own Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Dash, whatever it is you're into, Monero, whatever it is. If you have what they call the private key, that gives you the ability to send those coins. So with every cryptocurrency wallet, there's two pairs of keys. There's the private key and the public key. And the public key you can give to people. You can say, here's my wallet address. And then all the people can do is give you that cryptocurrency to that address, and it appears in your wallet. So giving away the public key, no problem. The private key, you don't want to give that one away. No. Otherwise, it gives anybody access to send your coins. So you keep that very, very private. Keep it to yourself or to anyone who you trust, which, of course, you don't want to trust too many people when it comes to money, especially large amounts of it. But yet people were trusting FTX with large amounts of money. Some people with their life savings.
Oof, Tom Brady?
Well, I don't think he had his life savings on there. But
he had $650 million he had into FTX. Yeah.
Really? Yep. Wow. He probably has more than that. But still, that's a lot of money. There's no doubt about it. And then other people, other companies with multiple millions on this particular exchange, and now these companies are freezing their assets, possibly filing bankruptcy. It's an ugly situation. In fact, according to the restructuring CEOs, remember how he said that the Bankman, Sam Bankman-Fried, Fried, I don't know how you say it, but anyway, he is no longer the CEO of the company.
Right.
He was replaced when the company filed bankruptcy with this guy named John J. Ray III, who also oversaw Enron's bankruptcy proceedings.
Go figure.
This guy's like an expert, right? Like he's seen some of the stuff. According to the story here at johnwu.eth on Twitter, he says, this John Ray guy, he says FTX is the worst case of his entire career. Worse than Enron.
Mm-hmm.
Worse than anything.
And what did they do for Enron? You remember what they did to cover that up?
No. Didn't they send somebody to prison?
No, they flew a couple planes into buildings to destroy all the evidence and all the records of Enron. Yeah, and that was 2 months later after.
Was it that?
Yeah, it was, I think it was.
Let's go to the phones here. We got Nathan on the line in Pennsylvania watching us on YouTube. Go ahead, Nathan.
All right.
Yeah, hi. I heard you talking about Bitcoin and thought I'd just share my thoughts on that. I'm an investor. I buy stocks. I buy mainly growth stocks, some value stocks, and real estate. And the problem for a lot of investors is with Bitcoin, we just don't see where there's any kind of assets to back it up or any cash flow or profitability. So we just don't see that yet. Maybe we're missing something.
Yeah.
Well, I have a good explanation for you on what it is. So Bitcoin is just proof of work, right? So there's people mining it and providing a service that's what's creating its value, is that people can do these confirmations. And yeah, it seems like, it's obvious that people invested in Bitcoin, which drove the price up. But the value of Bitcoin is the utility to be able to trade amongst each other with outside the realm of centralized, banks.
You don't have to ask for permission. You can send value from one person to another across the entire planet in a matter of moments, and you don't have a banker or a government standing in the way and telling you that you can't do it. So that is the value behind Bitcoin, and also the fact that there are thousands of nodes on the Bitcoin network. So it's got decentralization as well, essentially meaning that it cannot be taken down. It cannot be stopped, essentially, by corrupt governments of the world. The bankers and the governments do not like this technology because it is a threat to them. And so certainly it is being fought against, but it can never be stopped. And so there's that value, the value in the network itself, that allows for what you were saying, Joe, which is to say that people can transmit value from one person to the next. So basically it allows for cutting out of the middleman when it comes to money. And there's value in that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I see your point. I mean, it sounds like a legitimate point, and I think there are some countries out there in the world that have unstable governments, and if the government collapses and they are using something like Bitcoin, they still have a more viable currency. But I still think for investors like ourselves, we just see it as too risky. We buy mutual funds. We buy growth stocks. I'm a Tesla investor, and I like Tesla because they sell cars. They generate great profits. They have tremendous growth. So I'm a believer in growth companies, but Bitcoin is a little bit more difficult for a lot of us to, I guess, buy into and invest in.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's definitely a new concept. You know, it is when credit cards first hit the scene, a lot of people didn't see the value in those either, right? They didn't understand it. They couldn't understand why somebody would not want to use cash, for instance. So there was a long period of decades where the banks had to convince business owners that credit cards were a useful technology and that they should take them on, even though that they involved costs to the business owner and that sort of thing. And then finally, 50 years later, most businesses are willing to accept credit cards. So there's always this sort of adoption problem with new technologies, and of course, Bitcoin doesn't have the problem, or cryptocurrency in general doesn't have the problem of the insane credit card fees. So there's a real incentive to take it on from that perspective. But as you already noted, Nathan, there is the issue with the instability and the uncertainty of the future price of these things, and that is a big challenge.
It is, but I think if 2 or 3 of the top Bitcoin companies can have a very good system and they can convince people that it is a good way to send money back and forth and use it as a form of currency, I think it could work at some point. It's just that a lot of us investors we're a little more cautious.
Sure. Yeah, a cautious investor is going to be afraid of Bitcoin, right? It is high risk. The price of a Bitcoin can dramatically change in a 10-minute time frame, let alone over an entire day. But that said, we've also seen tech stocks taking 50, 70, 30+% dives in a day in recent months as well. So, by no means are those things a sure shot.
If anything, I look at the stock market is much more easily manipulated versus the crypto markets, because you had to have, billions of dollars like Bankman to manipulate. So I like to think that maybe one day this, brick and mortar bank will disappear, and Citizens Bank will still be there. It's just it won't be people serving you. It's just going to be all digital screens. So, we might have physical location and ATMs to pull, I guess, cash. But the reality is that we're trying to create, and I say we, but like everybody that's in the crypto world that really believes in its principles, the core where it really originated, is that this is going to be the currency. That we are not going to use U.S. dollars. We're not going to use government currencies anymore, because there is something to be more trustworthy about when you know where it's coming from, where it's going, and the security involved. I don't trust government, FDIC regulated promissaries of my bank if my bank account got hacked. I don't trust them at all.
That's one reason why I don't want to mess with the stock market, is because it's regulated.
Yes.
It's controlled by the government. You have to ask permission to get in, and you have to ask permission to get out.
Yep.
And then they can do God knows what to you while you're involved.
Who knows how long it takes to pull and from the stocks.
Yeah, but whereas with cryptocurrency, all you have to do is give somebody some cash, and then they'll give you some cryptocurrency. It doesn't have to be on the books at all. Obviously the government wants you to report it to them,
right?
But if you don't, and you bought it with cash, they're never going to know about it. So for people that are interested in privacy, you got to look into the privacy coins like Monero. Those things take what Bitcoin originally did to the next level. And the technology here is very, very exciting. But yeah, I agree with you, Nathan. If you're a conservative investor, you want to go for the conservative returns. Cryptocurrency is just too risky, and it may be for the foreseeable future.
Nathan, and I don't want to discourage you from playing with stocks or whatever, but instead of buying, say, precious metals on the stock exchange, buy physical, because it's just the same thing as crypto. Not your keys, not your wallet. Well, if you're just owning silver stock, not your silver.
True.
So make sure you have it physically in your hand.
Nathan, thanks for the call tonight, man. Appreciate hearing from you. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You, of course, can bring up whatever is on your mind. I'll get into this FTX. What they're saying here is making this the worst bankruptcy case ever.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold bag. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. It's Ian and Joa in the studio tonight. We've been talking about the FTX debacle that has been affecting a large chunk of the cryptocurrency industry. We're going to continue with that. But Joa, you mentioned a moment ago, not your keys, not your coins, not your gold, not your silver, not your gold and silver, right? Like, you have to have these things in your possession.
Yes.
In case something happens to the company that's selling you gold on paper. You don't want to buy that stuff. You want to get the real deal, the physical product, and bullionmax.com/FTL can help you with that. They had sold out of their silver starter kit, but they are back in stock now.
Nice.
So if you missed your chance on this last week, it's back in stock. You got 5 ounces of some of the most desirable silver ounces out there, plus they're throwing in the free gold back into this. So you can order yours at employee pricing, by going to bullionmax.com/FTL, like Free Talk Live. And of course, they got a ton of other products at Bullion Max. Gorgeous gold and silver products from all around the planet. It's an incredible selection. But if you've never had silver before or you've never done business with Bullion Max before, this is one per household. So you should start with this, the 5-ounce silver starter kit plus the bonus gold back at bullionmax.com/FTL. Let's go to your phone calls. We got Joe on the line in Maryland. You're on Free Talk Live listening online. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, how you doing, Ian? How
Joe?
you doing, Joe?
We're good. What's on your mind?
Yeah, let's talk about the hypocrisy of the government here now.
Sure.
With the FTX debacle, right?
We're losing your cell phone signal, Joe. I don't know if you're indoors or in a bad spot.
How about now?
Sounds clear now. What were you saying?
Okay, his last name is Fried.
That's right.
Now let's talk about this hypocrisy of the government. Okay, Carolyn Ellison was the original CEO of what do you call it? The Bitcoin company.
There is no Bitcoin company. I just want to clarify.
He's talking about FTX, right?
I mean of FTX.
FTX. Right. FTX. Just for clarification, because a lot of people don't understand this. I was watching a video online last night of some of these guys that I like that do movie reviews, and they're great at movie reviews, but they don't know jack about cryptocurrency. And they were saying, isn't the Bitcoin company in profits or something like that? Like, no, there is no company behind Bitcoin. So FTX was a Bitcoin exchange. And I think they were like a futures market or something as well. Anyway, go ahead, Joe. Carolyn, wasn't she the girlfriend?
Carolyn Ellison was the original CEO of FTX. Her father is Glenn Ellison, head of the economic division of MIT. He appointed Gary Gensler, head of crypto department of MIT. And that's funny, in 2018, Biden nominated Gary to be head of the SEC. So all of this...
wait. 2019 would have been Trump that nominated him.
2018. I'm sorry.
Right, so that would have been Trump.
Okay. But... I'm sorry. In 2018, he was head of... I'm looking at my notes. He was head of MIT.
Okay.
He was nominated in 2021 by Biden.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right, and so he's head of the SEC right now.
Right. So the FCC or the SEC head used to work directly underneath the co-owner of FTX,
father.
This Carolyn Ellison, her father.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
Okay. So we have all that, and also what's his name? Fried.
Bankman.
Donated between $37 million and $40 million to the politicians.
That's right. The Democratic Party specifically.
Right. These are called, public officials, and they're lawmakers. They should know the law. Now this money, as a matter of fact, they all should be prosecuted.
But you're giving reasons why they're not going to be, right? Because he's given money to the Democrats. He's buddies, close friends, basically, with the head of the SEC. I mean, these are all things that are going to get him a pass in the long run. Even if they bring charges against him, they will be very likely insignificant. He'll probably get a slap on the hand, maybe get a sweet plea deal or something like that. And I will be shocked if this guy sees time behind bars.
Yeah, but this is akin to Bernie Madoff with the amount of money that was stolen from people.
Yep, that's true.
I mean, he should go to jail for as long as Bernie Madoff did.
Yeah, and they did put Bernie Madoff away for multiple life sentences, didn't they?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. And these lawmakers should have known this, and they had the crypto. They should be forced to give it back. They should be prosecuted if they're prosecuting some poor guy in New Hampshire.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah, but I am not a fan of the system, and Bankman was their cheerleader.
I made a joke, Joe, that I made a little deep fake video, and it's a guy, I forget his name, from Talladega Nights, right? He I made him say, "Oh, we're not going to arrest the bank man. He was just trying to start World War III, right?" And I was also referring to Ian Freeman that the reason why he got started into Bitcoin because Bitcoin's not bombs, and we didn't want to go to war. We're using a currency that does not promote war.
Correct.
That was the original purpose. So guess what they had to do? They had to twist it on us, right?
Yeah. Oh, and hold on, Mr. Fried, he donated. There was a fund set up for donation money for Ukraine and stuff like that.
Yes,
and that also got funneled in for weapons to the Ukraine. Come on now.
Yeah, aidforukraine.com, I believe it was the website.
Yep. Yeah. So, I think all these lawmakers should be prosecuted before the guy in New Hampshire because they know better.
Yeah, but they're not going to punish themselves, obviously.
Right.
Well, they should be, and the people should rise up and say, "Hey, the guy in New Hampshire should be let go." Punish the people who.
Well, thank you, Joe. That is very kind.
They still have the damn money.
Well, that's the question: is do they have the money, or has it been spent on something?
It's gone.
Or did he funnel it somewhere secret? Who knows?
Oh, there you go. More crimes. More crimes by the lawmakers. Oh.
Thank you, Joe. Good call, man. I appreciate the kind words, and thank you for calling in here tonight.
FTX took Tom Brady's assets and they deflated it.
Sure did. That's a football joke.
Got you.
So here's a little bit more on this FTX debacle. This is from John J. Ray III. He oversaw the Enron bankruptcy proceedings, and he says this is the worst case he has ever seen in his career. So he's had a chance to look over all the numbers, right? Like he's dug through the whatever financials they had. Quote, "Never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as occurred here. From compromised systems integrity and faulty regulatory oversight abroad to the concentration of control in the hands of a very small group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and potentially compromised individuals, this situation is unprecedented." The number here, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We'll get into some of the details on how ugly this really was. And, of course, people on the outside had no idea. They thought this guy was on the up and up, and then he scammed them.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks.
I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress.
Nancy Pelosi, the first woman ever to serve as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is standing down after the Democrats lost control of the chamber in last week's midterm elections. She made the announcement after the Republicans learnt they will form the majority in the House next January, but she is staying on as a backbencher. With more from FSN's Washington Bureau, Caroline Malone.
The Republican Party has just clinched the majority in the House in midterm elections. A number of election deniers who openly supported former President Trump's claims he won the 2020 election did not get into office in the midterms, and Pelosi made reference to that in her speech.
With these elections, the people stood in the breach and repelled the assault on democracy. They resoundingly rejected violence and insurrection, and in doing so, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
A younger generation will vie to be the new Democratic Party leader, following on from what President Biden has called the most consequential speaker in our history.
Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, has set out tens of billions of pounds in tax rises and spending cuts, as FSN's Ollie Barrett reports from our London bureau.
It's a political tightrope that Jeremy Hunt is trying to walk. Tax rises and spending cuts set out over the years to come. He says it's necessary to shore up public finances. His critics say it could push the economy further into the recession that Jeremy Hunt acknowledges it's probably already in.
The Black Sea grain deal that has allowed wheat to leave Ukraine despite the ongoing conflict there has been extended for another 4 months, easing fears over global food shortages. The deal was set to expire this weekend, and the UN says it will now work on resolving remaining differences between Moscow and Kiev over the arrangement. A Dutch court has convicted 3 men over the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 over Ukraine in 2014. 1 Ukrainian suspect and 2 Russians were handed life sentences, while another was acquitted, but none of the defendants has been extradited, and they are unlikely to face jail time. On special assignment for us in Amsterdam, FSN's Julia Chapman.
The court found 3 men guilty of murder, deciding there was sufficient evidence that they moved a missile system from Russia into Ukraine and were responsible for its use. But the real significance of this ruling is what it says about Moscow's involvement. The court judged that Russia had overall control of the breakaway regions of eastern Ukraine when the plane was downed in 2014. For years, Moscow has been accused of fomenting unrest and providing weapons to separatists there. It has always denied doing so.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. The phones are open. You can join the show here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. I want to say thank you to Chris LaRue, who is a Free Talk Live supporter of our AMPS program. He's diamond level, which means he's contributing something like 10 times what we ask for. We ask for $5 a month.
Nice.
So thank you. Chris, for helping us out. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. It's a way to help Free Talk Live with what we do here, with our mission to spread the ideas of liberty and peace and cryptocurrency and things like that 7 nights a week here on broadcast radio and online, of course. And Chris is getting access to things like the AMP Only podcast, which has the full radio show archive minus any recorded ads. Those are not in that podcast. So it really makes it easy to consume, but it is still 2 hours a night. So if you want that full radio show experience, that's the way to do it.
Thanks, Blake.
It's Chris LaRue.
Wait, who's doing the edit?
Oh, you think of Riley.
Riley.
His last name is Blake.
Oh,
Riley Blake.
Yeah, Riley Blake.
Yeah, he's doing the edit. He's doing the editing for the digest, which is what you get on our website at feeds.freetalklive.com. Anybody can subscribe to that podcast.
Yes.
But if you want the digest is usually around an hour. If you want the full radio show without any edits except to remove commercials, you should sign up for the AMPS program, as Chris has done.
Gotcha.
amps.freetalklive.com. You can join it there and get some perks like Chris Scott over at amps.freetalklive.com. And remember, you don't have to go to the level Chris did. We're only asking $5 a month. So check it out at amps.freetalklive.com. We've been talking about the FTX situation here. Just keeps getting uglier as even more information is revealed. And now the current CEO, basically the guy that was assigned to CEO by the bankruptcy situation, this John J. Ray III, who apparently was the guy that also handled the Enron proceedings. He says this is the worst, he says, in his entire career. It is unprecedented, the level of failures and the situation that he's been digging into here over the past some days that he's been in charge of this thing. So
I don't know if there's any real failures. They did exactly what they wanted to do. There's no fails. The only fail was the people investing their money into their company.
True. Right. What you're saying, Joey, is that this was a plan from the beginning by FTX to essentially scam people out of billions of dollars and make it look like they were some, altruistic people.
Sam Bankman did not care about crypto. What he cared about was investing in profits. That's all he cared about. And he's not one to prop up crypto as like a savior like everyone else has been doing over these years, like in a savior sense of currency exchange, right? He didn't care about that at all. He showed, if anything, he showed all the vulnerabilities all at once and showed that, we cannot trust these exchanges. And some young guys, not age discriminating, but he's a young guy that had no clue how to. Right. And you guys put too much faith in this guy.
And now, I do have to wonder if he is just delusional.
Patsy.
Right? You think he's a patsy?
They put him in a position where they could be a fall guy, and he's going to get a slap on the wrist because his parents are regulators.
Well, his parents are connected with regulators.
It's enough.
I'm not sure if they actually are. His dad's a professor or something like that. But his dad argues for taxation. His dad wants to see more people paying taxes. And SBF, Bankman here, the guy that was running the exchange, he was constantly arguing for regulation. And so they're going to use this as the excuse to call for more regulation.
He's like, hey, stop me. Hey, why don't you try and stop me? That's kind of like what he's saying at the same time while he's doing these horrible things.
But some of the things he's said makes one wonder if this guy is just really delusional and crazy. So, for instance, he said in an interview with a reporter at Vox, the left-leaning website, he said his biggest regret is that he filed for bankruptcy. Now, we mentioned that earlier, but what he actually says in this conversation, here's what he said in the text messages. He says, I effed up big multiple times. You know what was maybe my biggest single F up? And the reporter says, oh? And he says, the one thing everyone told me to do, everything would be 70% fixed right now if I hadn't, he says. And the reporter says, I'm trying to guess, but I have no idea. And Sam says, chapter 11. Does he believe that he could have somehow fixed this situation in a week's time or in years' time had he just not filed bankruptcy? Or does he just want people to believe that? How crazy
This is his attempt. This is his formula to try to fix it for real.
But he can't fix it.
I know.
He's out.
That's why he's literally threatening the world with the second pandemic.
But he's not.
I mean, it's
that's
pseudo.
Just mainstream media.
I know, but it's pseudo. It's pseudo.
That's just that's
saying
what
it.
you're talking about is a mainstream. I don't think I've seen anything of him saying that.
No. But
that's
what I'm
the
saying is, it's
media.
like I know, but it's all kind of all connected, and it's the mainstream media is propping him up.
They are doing that
yes,
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And he knew that this was going to happen. He knew that they were going to be on his side, and because he's been shaking their hands and
giving them money in some cases.
And apparently. Doing all the proper interviews that make everything sound beautiful and wonderful. He's vegan,
The guy, I heard that. He's also not skinny like a lot of vegans are either, which is weird. But anyway, the bankruptcy guy identified 4 business silos within FTX. And I presume a silo is a term for where they keep money.
Secure holding area or something.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he names the different silos and which businesses they're associated with, and then he goes on to say that I understand that many entities, for example, never had board meetings. The FTX group did not maintain centralized control of its cash. They didn't even keep a running list of all of their bank accounts. He says further that he doesn't even trust the financials that he was given because they were done by Sam Bankman. So he doesn't even know if what he's looking at is in any way, shape, or form accurate or true, because this guy can't be trusted at all.
Maybe that's what they can get him for, is setting up fake bank accounts,
They could try that. According to this, human resources was failing. The entire FTX group didn't even have any employee management. They could not furnish a simple list of employees.
Jeez.
They could not furnish the terms of the agreements of the employees, presuming they have them, and each employee's current status. They didn't have any information about that. Employees were paid through online chat, and managers, quote, approved disbursements by responding with personalized emojis. Further.
So they use code emojis?
Apparently so.
What?
Further, the SBF, a.k.a. Bankman, and his partner Gary Wang controlled all of their assets personally, the FTX assets, using a group email account to share private keys, software, to conceal the misuse of customer funds, and according to this, they didn't keep any appropriate books or records or security controls with respect to its digital assets.
It didn't seem like they were very safe about what they were doing.
No,
in
not
the sense
at all.
of other people's stuff. You know,
an unsecured group email account. Email by its nature is completely sent in the clear over all kinds of servers that are not your own server.
They're doing it this on purpose. They're like, I think like they're leaving everything open doored so that hackers can come in so they can blame it on somebody else. Like the 100 million supposedly they lost too, you know.
The secret exemption of Alameda from certain aspects of FTX.com's auto liquidation protocol. Alameda was their other company, the investments company, where they apparently were funneling money over that should not have been there, that kind of thing. Theories that Alameda was liquidation exempt on FTX seem to be confirmed by Ray's initial investigation. He notes that $372 million in unauthorized transfers happened on the petition date. So remember what I told you earlier. At the time they filed for the bankruptcy, that night, $372 million worth of cryptocurrency was removed from the supposedly locked down wallets. This was like
that's scary.
Basically what they had left, essentially. And then $300 million in FTT tokens, which was the token for the FTX exchange, were also minted after the petition date by an unauthorized source.
So they just created a whole bunch of FTT out of nowhere.
That's right, and then probably sold it on exchanges.
Right, up to the unwary.
The number here, if you want to join the show, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can share your thoughts on the FTX contagion, as it's being called. Plus, Starbucks is having a strike right now in over 100 stores. It's Free Talk Live.
Does this ever happen to you? Moments after you're introduced to someone, you forget his or her name. It's a common faux pas you'll want to avoid, especially if you're a job seeker. And even if you're not, here's a tip. As you are being introduced, and while you're still shaking hands, smiling, and making eye contact, say the person's name aloud. Not only does that make a deposit in your memory bank, it acknowledges the other person. And that is more than a nuance, as is maintaining eye contact. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better, no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Free Talk Live.
Yeah, this would work if there was no government and everything worked the right way.
Communism requires central control. There's evidence that the free market works. The marketplace is what has created all of the wondrous things that we have and take for granted in this world. The marketplace is what brings us air conditioning, grocery stores, the internet, all the things that you enjoy, your cell phone, all the things you take for granted. That's not as a result of government. Government slows down and impedes the market. Government restricts freedom and it restricts the marketplace. So, there's evidence that the freer a market is. Look at the computer industry, for instance. The more free and the less regulated a market is, the better the innovation, the better the competition, the better the prices, and the better the quality of the products and the services. I mean, we've got evidence to prove that our economic model is sound.
And look at all the wealthy people that the computer industry has created.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern. Live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join the show here. The number is 603-283-6160. You can bring up anything you want. 603-283-6160. We're talking about the FTX bankruptcy being looked at by the head of the company now, the man that came in from the outside to process the bankruptcy. He's been looking at the financials, which he says are an absolute mess. He says this is the worst situation he has encountered, worse than Enron, which he also handled years ago. With you tonight, by the way, it's Ian.
And Joa.
Don't forget, you can join us online anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features that we have there for you. One of those features is our podcast. We mentioned it just a few moments ago. You get the daily digest of Free Talk Live every single day, and you can do that through feeds.freetalklive.com. Just head over to feeds.freetalklive.com. You'll find our podcast link there, and also links to some of the platforms like iHeartMedia, Spotify, those sorts of things where you can easily find Free Talk Live. We're already on those sites. So all those links are available for you at feeds.freetalklive.com. We're going to go back to your phone calls and thoughts. You can bring up anything. We have Tom on the line in West Virginia. Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, I just had a little feel-good story about I took a little walk to the dollar store up the street, and there was a woman up there's a little hangout.
Wait, hold on. Do you guys still have dollar stores? Because around here, they're now $1.25 trees.
Well, there, the Dollar Tree went up. Yeah, we've got the Dollar General and the Family Dollar, but
right.
There's nothing left really for $1.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to clarify. I didn't know if there were such things anymore. Go ahead with the story.
So there's a little convenience store, gas station, hangout sort of place up here. I'm about 10 minutes from downtown and a mile from the state capitol.
Okay.
And so there's a woman, real nice woman up there. She was giving away. She had a whole cart full, those little pull carts. I call them grandma carts people pull around, full of chicken sandwiches.
Mm.
And I don't really need anything. She had so many. I took one, ate it on the way home. But
nice.
She was real friendly and, talking to people and just a really good atmosphere and countenance she was giving off and all that stuff. I just thought I'd throw it out there for the listeners.
Was it a good chicken sandwich?
Yeah.
I guess it does matter in the situation.
It does matter, yeah, absolutely. So you'd buy a chicken sandwich from this lady again, is what you're saying?
Well, you got it for free.
Sure.
You got it for free, or?
Oh yeah, she was just giving.
Oh, she was giving them away. Oh,
it's a feel-good story.
I would have felt good paying for a chicken sandwich from a nice lady on the streets. Yeah, I mean, like now, do you think she had a license to give away those chicken sandwiches?
Oh no.
That makes me feel even better.
Yeah,
knowing that it was unlicensed, a charitable thing that she didn't ask permission from the government to do that. That warms my heart. Thanks for sharing it, Tom. Anything else you want to share tonight?
No, just I had been meaning to kind of. I love this Sarah caller from Albuquerque.
Well, some people really have strong feelings about Sarah. People either hate her
or they love her. I've never met anybody that's sort of like wishy-washy about Sarah. You know?
Really? She's the best. Love her.
All right. Well, stay tuned because I'm sure she'll be calling tonight.
Don't worry, she's not listening.
Thank you. No, she never listens. So yeah, she can't hear your compliments. But thank you, Tom.
Really?
No,
Okay.
she's just a caller. She knows she can call this radio show and get on the air, and a lot of shows won't let her on the air. So she just makes a point of calling regularly, even though she actually never listens to the show. Oh, that's not true. There were times when we were on the air in Albuquerque, and she did find us on the radio there. So, and we are, by the way, on
at least once.
We're on more than once. We're on Albuquerque on Kiva on Sunday evenings. So, but we're not on tonight. Thanks for the call, Tom. I appreciate it, man. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. So again, we were telling you that this situation with FTX is worse than the Enron situation. This, according to the guy assigned to administrate this case, he says he's never seen anything like this. This is an unprecedented situation. It is an absolute disaster from a financial perspective.
Yeah, I just want to remind people, I'm looking at the FTT charts here.
FTT was the crypto token that FTX created.
Correct.
And then it was worth, I think you said, $30 billion before the fall of FTX.
Don't quote me on that, but they have a market cap of $520 million.
Now they do.
Yes, because they flooded it recently. Right.
Well, and it also went from $25 per token to like $2 and now down to $150 or something.
Like overnight, guys, from November 5th, okay? And it started to go down at November 7th, and then November 8th is the big crash. And then for 2 days, it went from $22, $23 down to $5, and now it's at $1.59.
Wow.
Oof.
Still too high.
Oh, should be zero. Should be flat.
It shouldn't be worth more than 10 cents.
You know what this is people's desperate chance to get anything out of it.
They're hoping it's going to come back.
Yeah. And it might pump a little bit, but my guess is that it's going to have to flatten out. We can't give these people our respect anymore.
No, I mean, FTX has no future. I mean, the odds that this thing is ever going to recover seem to me next to zero.
Well, he's got connections. He could pass a law. He can get a law passed that just opens them right back up.
Well, I mean, he's got connections, but those can only carry you so far. I mean, you can't be seen as an international level thief, and and even though the politicians themselves are international level thieves, they're way more successful at it than Bankman was.
Right. We need the petition to get his name changed to Jailman.
He's going to be on the outs with these guys. They're gonna take his $40 million that he donated to. They're not giving that back, right? Like if they actually wanted to quote unquote help people, they would give that money, and then that money would be returned to the customers of FTX. But that's not going to happen. The politicians are going to take that $40 million, and then they're going to disavow Bankman. They're going to say that, oh, well, we didn't know. We had no idea. And this Bankman is the reason why we need to regulate. We need regulations. And the thing is, it's not just going to be the politicians that are calling for it. According to a full-page advertisement in the Wall Street Journal by Coinbase, one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges also on the planet, and certainly within the United States, they say, after paragraphs of talking about trust and how, trust is, you can't trust anybody, but Coinbase is in the U.S. They're regulated and this and that. They say at the very end, it's time to establish a regulatory framework that will make this future possible. Talking about a decentralized system where you don't have to trust Coinbase or any other institution. They say that's the promise of crypto. The only thing you need to trust is the math. Everything is transparent, immutable, and verifiable to all. But the thing is, Coinbase, you don't get to regulate a decentralized system. That's the whole point of why it was created. Mm-hmm. You, Coinbase, are a centralized system. You are not part of decentralization. As much as you want people to believe you are,
you're not part of it.
So are you saying you're in favor of these laws being passed because it doesn't matter because they're centralized?
Oh, no, I'm against them, completely against them, because the laws and the regulations that they're probably going to try to pass when it comes to crypto are going to make it harder for people to get crypto.
Right, because essentially the government wants to KYC everyone going into it.
And they already
into
are.
any sort of investing.
For the most part, they already are.
Yeah.
I mean, every single crypto exchange has Know Your Customer. By the way, another point about this whole FTX thing that somebody made online, I wish I could give credit to this person because this was a brilliant point. If these people were indeed criminals from the beginning and they weren't just totally incompetent kids that were high on drugs all the time and just playing with other people's money, right? Like it's one or the other, right? Like they are totally incompetent screwballs.
Or nefarious to begin with.
They plotted this from the very beginning. So if they were actually plotting this from the very beginning and they are criminally intended kind of people, how many millions or hundreds of thousands or whatever, how many customers' identities do they now have? How many passports? How many driver's license? How many social security numbers? How many identities have they been able to put into a database?
That's scary.
And then use for God knows what purpose.
They could just sell your information because you didn't read the fine print.
They could sell it on the black market if they wanted to. There's plenty of people who'd be very interested in acquiring 100,000 passports.
Remember, they're just in the Bahamas, right?
They are.
Just do whatever they want with your information, guys.
So that's the really scary thing. Whenever you do a Know Your Customer, you are trusting this person who you don't know. Oh, well, they're regulated.
Right. And this is the big bag about KYCing that the government wants, is that not only are you putting all your personal information out there, they don't have a good way to secure that personal information.
No.
So you're being vulnerable because of the law if they want to pass it.
There's more coming up here in moments. The number 603-283-6160. You can join the show. Hour number 3 is on the way. Here, it's Free Talk Live. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks.
I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress.
Nancy Pelosi, the first woman ever to serve as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is standing down after the Democrats lost control of the chamber in last week's midterm elections. She made the announcement after the Republicans learnt they will form the majority in the House next January, but she is staying on as a backbencher. With more from FSN's Washington Bureau, Caroline Malone.
The The Republican Party has just clinched the majority in the House in midterm elections. A number of election deniers who openly supported former President Trump's claims he won the 2020 election did not get into office in the midterms. And Pelosi made reference to that in her speech.
With these elections, the people stood in the breach and repelled the assault on democracy. They resoundingly rejected violence and insurrection, and in doing so, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
A younger generation will vie to be the new Democratic Party leader, following on from what President Biden has called the most consequential speaker in our history.
Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, has set out tens of billions of pounds in tax rises and spending cuts, as FSN's Ollie Barrett reports from our London bureau.
It's a political tightrope that Jeremy Hunt is trying to walk. Tax rises and spending cuts set out over the years to come. He says it's necessary to shore up public finances. His critics say it could push the economy further into the recession that Jeremy Hunt acknowledges it's probably already in.
The Black Sea grain deal that has allowed wheat to leave Ukraine despite the ongoing conflict there has been extended for another 4 months, easing fears over global food shortages. The deal was set to expire this weekend, and the UN says it will now work on resolving remaining differences between Moscow and Kiev over the arrangement. A Dutch court has convicted 3 men over the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 over Ukraine in 2014. 1 Ukrainian suspect and 2 Russians were handed life sentences, while another was acquitted, but none of the defendants has been extradited, and they are unlikely to face jail time. On special assignment for us in Amsterdam, FSN's Julia Chapman.
The court found 3 men guilty of murder, deciding there was sufficient evidence that they moved a missile system from Russia into Ukraine and were responsible for its use. But the real significance of this ruling is what it says about Moscow's involvement. The court judged that Russia had overall control of the breakaway regions of eastern Ukraine when the plane was downed in 2014. For years, Moscow has been accused of fomenting unrest and providing weapons to separatists there. It has always denied doing so.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. When you think of rockets blasting off into space, you probably associate that kind of imagery with Cape Canaveral in Florida or Baikonur in Kazakhstan. You almost certainly do not think of the town of Newquay in Cornwall. But all of that is about to change. The British government's Civil Aviation Authority has just granted a licence to Spaceport Cornwall to become the UK's first operating spaceport. A customised Virgin Orbit 747 will be used to carry a rocket containing a payload of up to 7 microsatellites into orbit, and then the rocket will ferry them into space. Melissa Thorpe heads the project.
The number one priority is safety. So we had to ensure that our safety case was robust and ensuring that it is environmentally sustainable as it possibly can be with where the technology is. We're just really excited for Cornwall to be proud of how we're launching to space. We're really trying to challenge the industry to do things differently. We're putting great satellites into space that are going to go on to help people and the planet, but we're doing it in a way that's responsible. So that's something that Cornwall can be really proud of.
The first mission is due to blast off possibly within the next 2 weeks, with the Civil Aviation Authority calling the development a major milestone for the UK. So, beyond the Cornish pasties, the clotted cream, the beaches, and its own ancient language, Cornwall is set to enter the space race and make money out of it as well. The main news again. Nancy Pelosi, the first woman ever to serve as Speaker of the House of Representatives, is stepping down after the Democrats lost control of the chamber in last week's midterm elections. Britain's Chancellor has set out tens of billions of pounds in tax rises and spending cuts to try and stabilise the country's finances. And the Black Sea grain deal that has allowed wheat to leave Ukraine has been extended for another 4 months, easing fears of global food shortages. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
Turning to Capitol Hill, House Republicans are considering their own version of the Violence Against Women Act. The GOP hopes their new No Punch, Pretty Lady bill will finally help the party appeal to female voters.
No punch, no rape. Pass law. Women give big smiles at us again. Big votes.
Among its statutes, the bill would introduce harsher penalties for putting fist to women's face and proposes that if ladies smell nice like flowers, no smash lady.
And what if Pretty Lady Al-Qaeda? What if she death panel? What if she Benghazi? Yes, in some cases, punch lady.
In addition to increasing funding to shelters for crying ladies hurt from doing sex with bad guys, the bill also includes a clause complimenting the nation's women for losing weight.
And in other headlines, Lady Gaga kidnaps Commissioner Gordon. A man who likes to move it is still searching for the perfect song. And Rod Stewart is mistaken for an elderly aunt.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour. Plenty of time for you if you want to join the show. The number here is 603-283-6160. And since I think we've wrapped up the FTX thing. We've dug into that
thank God.
Pretty deep here tonight. But we got some other corporate stories to cover, and including one that you brought in tonight, Joe, about Target.
Yes.
They're upset about a shoplifting epidemic. And we'll get into that coming up. We've also got the situation with Starbucks, where apparently workers at more than 100 stores in the United States are now on strike. So we can talk about all that coming up here. Your calls and thoughts are also welcome. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. I mentioned the Starbucks story earlier, so I'm going to jump into that one now from the Associated Press. Starbucks workers at more than 100 stores in the U.S. are on strike as of today, apparently, as their largest labor action since a campaign to unionize the company's stores began late last year. The walkouts coincide with Starbucks' annual Red Cup Day, when the company gives free reusable cups to customers who order a holiday drink. Workers say it's often one of the busiest days of the year.
Oh, geez.
And so that's when they decided to go on strike.
Because it got too busy?
Yeah, apparently they didn't want to work. It's too hard.
Oh, my God.
They say they're seeking better pay, more consistent schedules, and higher staffing levels in busy stores. Stores in 25 states plan to take part in the labor action, according to Starbucks Workers United, the group organizing the effort. Strikers are handing out their own red cups with union logos. The Starbucks, which opposes the unionization effort, says it's aware of the walkouts and respects its employees' right to lawfully protest. The Seattle company noted the protests are happening at a small number of its 9,000 company-run U.S. locations. So I think that people should be free to join and form unions. I think that in the absence of a government mandate, and there are a lot of government mandates when it comes to unionization, but in the absence of government mandates, meaning they would take the union side, for instance, and force certain things on an employer, if there's no government involvement, then let the employees form a union. But if you want to fire everybody, then you should be able to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to walk out on the busiest day of the year and I can find somebody else who can brew a cup of coffee, yeah, you're done. You're done. I mean, look, I'm not saying there aren't. I don't go to these stores, right? Like, I'm not a coffee drinker. Generally, I'll have a cup with Bonnie on a Sunday, but that's it. That's it, right? Like, right. I don't have this addiction. I certainly, if I did, I wouldn't be spending $7 a day or whatever to go to Starbucks to feed that addiction.
Yeah, no.
So, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But hey, you do you, whatever it is that floats your boat. If you like Starbucks and you want to spend a tremendous amount of money there, and time, by the way, the time of ordering and waiting and all that. So I'm not saying that there aren't baristas who are better than the average, right? Like
absolutely.
They maybe are friendlier. They're better with people.
They sound like they would put up with the special cup at Starbucks Day.
You mean the good baristas wouldn't complain about working?
Absolutely. No, yeah. They would be like, oh, I maybe make some more tips today.
Hell yeah, you would make more tips, right? Like if you're helping people out and you're good at what you do, you're going to get tips from people.
Yeah.
It's just it's a no-brainer. And if you've got 10 times the customers coming in, you should probably get at least twice as many tips, maybe even more than that, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, quote, "We remain committed to all partners and will continue to work together side by side to make Starbucks a company that works for everyone," the company said. So, I mean, the Starbucks company is run by a hard left Democrat, right? So obviously, even though they, quote unquote, oppose the unionization effort,
They're obviously not, firmly taking a stand against what is going on here. But the workers of the union are saying they want higher staffing levels in busy stores. Well, I suspect the owners or the operators of the stores, and I guess there's a lot of corporate. Are there even franchise Starbucks stores
around the world? Yeah,
are there? Okay,
of course.
In this case, they're saying there's 9,000 corporate stores, company-run U.S. locations. So I wonder what the breakdown is between corporate versus.
All I know is that Starbucks is like the number one coffee shop in the world.
I believe it.
Technically, McDonald's would be number one
for coffee.
Well, a lot of people buy coffees, maybe
From
just
McDonald's,
as many.
Yeah. Okay, it could be true. But anyway, they're saying they want higher staffing levels. You can't force people to work there.
No.
And right now, there's a huge issue with staffing every place. Like everywhere is hiring.
In general, too.
Yeah, at least here in this area. And I've heard that it's true in other parts of the country where finding people who are just simply willing to work is a huge challenge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is. I don't know what happened during COVID. I know that there were a lot of people that took welfare, and that kind of took them out of the working world for some period of time. But supposedly those welfare payments have ended in most places. Yeah. So why aren't they working now?
I like to think that maybe social media has made people lazy. Like they can't watch more than 30 seconds on a video, and like God forbid they serve coffee in the morning.
I heard somebody. I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was, and this was like a local, I think, that was telling this story, or at least somebody in this area. They said that there was a girl who was a teenager that got hired. I don't know if it was her first job. It could have been. She was 16. Got hired at a discount store. Not a grocery store per se, but there's this discount store called Mr. G's.
Mr. G's, yes.
Up in Walpole.
Yep. Awesome place, by the way.
Yeah, it's an interesting place. But they hired her to stock shelves, apparently, right? And then she quit, I think, the same day. She walked out. Bonnie's nodding her head. She walked out of the store the same day, quit her job, because it wasn't, quote unquote, mentally stimulating enough.
It's not really a hard job there. The staff definitely works hard there because they have to constantly replace things on the shelf. That's how fast it goes. But yeah, I would say that's probably one of the easier jobs out there too.
But it wasn't mentally stimulating enough for this girl, so she walked off the job.
She could have wore headphones. I mean,
right? So I mean, what was she expecting?
I know
you got hired to stock the shelves, girl. You're not going to get you don't have to do math problems while you're stocking the shelves. But anyway, so like maybe the Gen Zs are just spoiled and they just can't handle manual labor jobs or whatever. But if they're having trouble with stocking shelves, they're going to have trouble with getting people to mix coffees together here. So
they can barely do that well too.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can strike if you want to, but it's not going to guarantee that Starbucks is going to be able to hire people. Anyway, more from the story here. Some workers plan to picket all day while others will do shorter walkouts. The union said the goal is to shut down the stores during the strikes and noted the company usually has difficulty staffing during Red Cup Day because it's so busy. Two of the baristas said they love being baristas in Philadelphia at the 34th Street and Chestnut Starbucks, but the work has gotten harder, they say, with this understaffed store trying to fill delivery orders and in-person orders simultaneously. Quote, it's just not viable, it's very stressful, and a lot of people don't really notice, like, the humans behind this assembly. And I get it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you work for a corporate store, people, they just want to get their coffee, right? They just want to go to work. I can see that people treat you, and it's not right. I'm not defending this at all, right? I like to, whenever I go somewhere, whether it's if it's a grocery store or whatever, I try to call the person by their first name.
Absolutely, yeah.
On their name tag. Try to actually have a some sort of a pleasant interaction with that person. But I know I'm just one of many people, right? And a lot of people are not very nice. A lot of customers are rude, and they don't treat staff like they're human. So I get that. But that's just a problem with working for the public.
Especially people in the morning that haven't had that coffee yet.
That could be. But that's just a problem with working for people.
Yeah.
You deal with the public, you're going to deal with everybody that's having a bad day.
Yeah.
Right, and you kind of have to understand that going into it. Being mad about your job isn't going to make the customer feel any better.
Right.
It's not going to make you feel any better. It's just going to make your day worse.
right? So if you can't handle having a few bad customers like a professional and keep a smile on your face, you should be working in a back stocking a shelf somewhere instead of working with customers. And here's the thing.
I don't really disagree with this all happening in one essence, and that would be that you shouldn't be working for a corporate coffee shop.
You should not, you're saying?
You should not, yeah.
Yeah.
Try doing some more local stuff so that the money stays in our community. And that's, work for a local barista.
Here's the thing. It's like, these guys are spending all this time protesting and all that. Right. Why don't they just go out and find another job?
They could.
Literally, everyone's hiring. So it's not like you can quit Starbucks and then have no opportunities.
This is a worker's environment.
Yeah, you can literally go knock on anyone's door. If you can fog a mirror, you're going to get hired there. There's more coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Phones are open, and you can join us here. There are strikes going on at Starbucks stores, over 100 stores, on what is apparently one of the busiest days of the year. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Joa.
You can join us online anytime. Head over to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features there. By the way, if you worked or lived at Camp Lejeune between a certain couple years, there was 1953 to 1988, there was apparently contaminants in the drinking water during those years, and they could have led to some pretty nasty diseases. I'm going to give you a phone number here. You can call this number to see if you or a loved one are eligible for some payments because of these contaminants. If, for instance, you or your loved ones have suffered from cancer, Parkinson's, or another serious health issue, you should call this number. It's 888-918-1037. There might be some filing deadlines here, so don't wait on this. Call 888-918-1037 if you were at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and you've had a serious health issue. Money's already set aside. Give them a call at 888-918-1037. 1037. It's Ian and Joa here continuing. We're talking about, working at a corporate job. And I was just asking you during the break, Joa, that, have you ever worked at one of these corporate places before? I was thinking in the food industry, but you said you did a Staples gig for a little while.
Yeah, I worked at Staples.
I worked at Kmart, but they ended up rebranding to what they call Big Kmart for
Big K.
some time in Florida. I worked there for several years, like 4 years, as a teenager. You said you were as a teenager back in the day. And, I never had these problems, right? Like maybe it's just because I was raised right by my parents who, inculcated a good work ethic into me. But yeah, obviously there were some customers that were worse than others, but you deal with it, right?
It's expected.
Yeah, you keep a smile on your face, and then they move along.
Also, if you work at, say, Starbucks, you should expect some snooty customers.
Absolutely.
This is part of the job.
Absolutely. And like you said, you should expect to get some tips too, right? Like if you're good at what you do, if you're friendly and you're not all uppity and angry and feeling like you're entitled to things, right? Because that's going to transmit. If you've got an attitude, then it's going to transmit to the customers, and you're not going to get as many tips. So these are people who I think they don't like to work. Right? They don't want to, and I understand you don't want to take on extra responsibility. They hired you at a certain rate and then this is a thing that they do at corporations, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, well, no, we're not going to hire a new manager and you're going to take on the manager duties, but we're not going to pay you like a manager. So I get it. Like, I'm not defending everything that Starbucks does. I'm sure they're a crappy company to work for. But, like we said, everyone's hiring right now. So if you want to work at a local coffee shop, just go walk down Main Street, and I bet you'll find more than one of them that's willing to hire you. And if you don't want to work in a coffee shop, then every place, for the most part, is hiring. Everything from manufacturing all the way to retail, you name it, it's out there. But let's get back to the story here, because there's more about exactly what's going on. Again, they got some quotes from some of the workers, quote unquote, the ones that are not working today. Talking about the frustrations of working for the company. One of them, Sylvia Baldwin, she's 26. She's on the store's bargaining committee. Remember, these are the stores where they are trying to unionize these. The employees are unionizing. And now this is something Starbucks is opposing, and they're going to get into how that is. She says she's frustrated the union hasn't been able to bargain with Starbucks. Striking on Starbucks' busiest day felt inspiring to her, and it will, quote, be impossible to ignore, she said. Others, including Michelle Eisen, a union organizer at one of the first stores to organize in Buffalo, New York. Of course, it's New York, right? Like, how much do you want to bet the majority of these stores that are unionized are in New York and California?
I'm not surprised.
According to the story here, she said workers are angry that Starbucks promised higher pay and benefits to non-union stores. So this is how they're really like getting them, right? So so the unions, these people started talking about forming a union, and Starbucks said, "Hey, look, we can't prevent you from forming a union. We wouldn't try to prevent you from forming a union. If you really want to form a union,
You do what you want.
Wait until these this new union forms and these union members realize they have to pay union dues. to grease the gears of the nonsense that they're trying to create.
But if the union were to work, then the union dues would be worthwhile for them because they would get paid more, right?
Well, yeah, but then you got to pay the due, which is breaking pretty much even.
That's probably not the case. Otherwise, why would people want to join the union?
Yes, but the unions have not been great. I mean, they've been abusive in ways because they use the state to sort of like force certain things.
They do.
But ultimately, like the teachers' union is just terrible.
Oh, no doubt. The unions, especially the teachers' unions, are politically connected.
Right, and they protect the teachers. Like literally, you can't fire teachers now. You have to like sexually abuse kids.
Like there's a reason why people join these unions, right? Like because for instance in construction unions or whatever, like you see in New York City or whatever, they get certain multiples. Their pay is based on like the minimum wage times 10 or something, right? Like there's a certain multiple factor that pushes them way above what a non-union person would get. And so obviously these people thought that was going to happen. Oh, well, we're going to form a union. We're going to come together and we're going to negotiate with Starbucks to double our pay, which of course would increase the cost of the coffees. But
like it wasn't expensive enough there.
Right. But here's what Starbucks did. Starbucks said to them, look, we can't stop you. If you want to form a union, you go right ahead. It's your right.
Yeah.
But what they said was, what we're going to do is if you aren't union, we're going to pay you more. We're going to give raises to every store where there's no union. So they're trying to disincentivize the forming of the union, which is a brilliant move. So according to this, Starbucks is even saying, hey, look, you union guys, we're following the law here. Okay, we're just trying to follow the law. And they can't give union stores pay hikes without bargaining. So they cannot raise the rates of the pay of the union workers unless they can go and have the bargaining process where they meet with the union reps and they try to say, okay, well, this is what the workers need to get paid, blah, 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 and then they have to come to an agreement. So Starbucks is saying, hey, look, we're not bargaining with you.
Yeah, they're basically, corporate Starbucks is like, oh, wow, these first-time jobbers that serve coffee are going to try to form a union?
Yeah. So, yeah, they have their union. But that's it. That's like the end of the story. And so now they're striking, right? Because they can't bargain, so they're just not going to work at all. At a store in Seattle, less than 3 miles from Starbucks headquarters, workers said managers were making drinks while baristas picketed outside. Quote, it's been almost a year since we told Starbucks we're unionizing this location, and we still haven't been able to get them to agree to a time for contract negotiations.
Wait a second. This is San Francisco?
Seattle.
Seattle? Okay, I guess it's
the
sort
home
of like
city.
Seattle. I could see people in Seattle not happy about their wage. Okay, I'm sure it's very expensive to live there. So they don't need to unionize. It's just like they should all plan a mass walkout if they don't.
That's what they're doing.
I know, but not. I know, just that like
without
specific locations. Yeah, and like.
But the other ones aren't mad because they got a raise.
Right.
The other workers are like, yeah, we're doing fine.
I'm not going to strike.
Yeah. The number here is 603-283-6160. So had these people not joined the union, they would have gotten higher wages and more benefits. So the number here is 603-283-6160. If you want to comment on unions, you can weigh in. Maybe you've been involved in them and you want to weigh in from that perspective, or maybe you've been in opposition to them from a management ownership perspective. You can join us here. This is Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks.
I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress.
Nancy Pelosi, the first woman ever to serve as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is standing down after the Democrats lost control of the chamber in last week's midterm elections. She made the announcement after the Republicans learnt they will form the majority in the House next January, but she is staying on as a backbencher. With more from FSN's Washington Bureau, Caroline Malone.
The Republican Party has just clinched the majority in the House in midterm elections. A number of election deniers who openly supported former President Trump's claims he won the 2020 election did not get into office in the midterms. And Pelosi made reference to that in her speech.
With these elections, the people stood in the breach and repelled the assault on democracy. They resoundingly rejected violence and insurrection, and in doing so, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
A younger generation will vie to be the new Democratic Party leader, following on from what President Biden has called the most consequential speaker in our history.
Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, has set out tens of billions of pounds in tax rises and spending cuts, as FSN's Ollie Barrett reports from our London bureau.
It's a political tightrope that Jeremy Hunt is trying to walk. Tax rises and spending cuts set out over the years to come. He says it's necessary to shore up public finances. His critics say it could push the economy further into the recession that Jeremy Hunt acknowledges it's probably already in.
The Black Sea grain deal that has allowed wheat to leave Ukraine despite the ongoing conflict there has been extended for another 4 months, easing fears over global food shortages. The deal was set to expire this weekend, and the UN says it will now work on resolving remaining differences between Moscow and Kiev over the arrangement. A Dutch court has convicted 3 men over the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 over Ukraine in 2014. One Ukrainian suspect and 2 Russians were handed life sentences, while another was acquitted, but none of the defendants has been extradited, and they are unlikely to face jail time. On special assignment for us in Amsterdam, FSN's Julia Chapman.
The court found 3 men guilty of murder, deciding there was sufficient evidence that they moved a missile system from Russia into Ukraine and were responsible for its use. But the real significance of this ruling is what it says about Moscow's involvement. The court judged that Russia had overall control of the breakaway regions of eastern Ukraine when the plane was downed in 2014. For years, Moscow has been accused of fomenting unrest and providing weapons to separatists there. It has always denied doing so.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. The phones are open and you can join the show at 603-283-6160. We're talking about the union strike going on today, apparently, at Starbucks locations. Not all of them. In fact, a very small number of them, probably in the big cities where you're more likely to find union types. People have joined a Starbucks Workers United union, and they're demanding, of course, higher wages and more employees and so on and so forth. But Starbucks, interestingly, is not negotiating, or they're trying to avoid getting into bargaining, quote unquote, with the unions. They've, in fact, even told people, hey, if you're in a store that is not unionized, we're going to give you a raise. We're going to give you more benefits. So the union workers are actually the lowest paid, it sounds like, compared to some of the other ones. But we'll continue with the story here, and your calls and thoughts, of course, are welcome. Again, the number is 603-283-6160. Now we go to the phones to somebody that doesn't know anything about working. Sarah is on the line in New Mexico. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, yes, sir. Hold on, let me get up there. Yes, sir. I was on the bus, and I saw them getting rid of the old swamp coolers, the evaporator coolers, into air conditioning on top of the roofs. And it turns out like the winter time is like the best time to buy the cheapest air conditioner and the best time to convert it. And I'm quite bewildered why this is.
Wait, why air conditioners on sale in the wintertime? Actually, it makes logical sense. There's no sales of air conditioners in the wintertime, right?
Meaning that there's people not looking to buy during the winter, so that's when you get the best deals.
Right.
Is that supply and demand? Because I was like,
yes,
I saw them advertised. I was like, what are they talking about? Nobody wants to think about air conditioning in the middle of December, but they were like, if you buy a heater, you'll get an air conditioning for free or something crazy. And
That's a good incentive. It's like in the summertime here in New Hampshire, wood is on sale. You know, wood's on sale. Burning firewood, you know, for your wood stove.
But during the winter,
in the winter, it goes
you're paying
up.
top dollar
it goes up
for
in
it.
price. Yeah.
Yeah. This is called supply and demand. Correct, Sarah. Very, very good. You figured it out.
This is one step closer to working.
It's our brains working.
Or understanding.
Yeah.
Well, what about what about overstocking? That I've seen a lot of products on sale if they miscalculate, if they overorder with the many items too.
Yeah, that's right. That in that case, that's where a store, for instance, thinks they're going to sell so many of a certain item, and then it turns out not that many people were interested in that item, and so rather than having them taking up shelf space, they decide to mark the price down. And maybe, you know, hopefully they don't take a loss on the item, lower the price down to, you know, where they're still making a little bit of money, and then they can get it off the shelves. Or they mark it down to below their cost, and then they have to take a loss.
This one time I was in Walmart and I bought a whole grocery cart full of peanut butter because each peanut butter jar, Jiffy, was 2 cents each.
Whoa.
So I was like, I'm just going to wheel this whole cart right to the register.
2 cents?
Yeah.
What'd you do with them?
Fed them to pigs.
Wow. Nice.
But I just want to comment about the Starbucks. You know, I happen to love Starbucks, and I'm just amazed that the workers.
Can you spend
there are so
EBT at
miserable.
Starbucks?
No, you don't. But you know what I like? I like it as their hours. They're open every
How do you do
day.
it? How do you are you selling your EBT money for like 50% and then taking the cash in for Starbucks?
Well, I mean, I pay cheap rent. I only paid $350, so I got some money left over to buy a latte every now and then.
Where does it come
every
from, though?
3-4
Where do you get the cash from? Because you're getting a bunch of welfare payments. So are they giving you a check?
Yeah, well, most of it I get about $840 in cash, so I can afford to buy a cup of coffee here and there.
Where do you get cash from?
Whoa!
Is it Albuquerque or New Mexico that's giving you cash for welfare?
Well, this is federal program. I could get this any state, 50 states.
Right.
But what I think, is that it's a good place to meet people.
Wait, where does the cash come from? I'm just trying to understand.
I know where it comes from me, and it comes from you, it comes from me.
No. I get that. I get where the welfare comes from. It comes from productive people that pay taxes. Right. But still, like normally, I thought they give you like a debit card. And then you can only use that on certain things. Like there's certain things that are excluded.
That sounds like EBT.
Right. They don't want you to buy alcohol with it, for instance.
But that's for the EBT. I only got like $30 in EBT cash because most people will go buy alcohol, cigarettes, and dope and whatever. The EBT, that's the welfare. But the cash is the Social Security check.
Oh, the checks.
So I get that at a high rate, so that's separate. I don't get
and you get quote unquote disability because you told somebody you had a bipolar.
Well, the thing is, I cracked up. I had a hospital record. I was homeless for 10 years, so they considered me not working for over a year considered disabled.
Right, because you're lazy. You got to claim you were disabled.
Sarah, you do seem intellectual enough to be able to hold a job, say a barista at Starbucks. What's stopping you from doing that? Is it just too comfortable to collect a check?
Well, the thing is, I have not worked a job since I was 17 years old.
Right, so because she's a loser, she always has to be a loser.
Sarah, is it? Let me ask you, Sarah. Is it possible that you could actually get a job right now? Is there a job that you could actually do, or you just can't and you have to, live off the system? Is there a job that you could do, you think you could do?
I help Richard marketing my network company, but I don't get paid for it. I just help. He gets paid, but I don't get paid.
So you're willing to work for free. Are you willing to, let me ask you, Sarah, are you willing to work for an income? Are you willing to work at McDonald's or you could even work at the post office. You could work.
They're hiring for like $20 an hour.
Yeah. For income. I'm just happy doing what I'm doing.
I know that, so I'm not asking you.
She'll lose her check.
I know.
That's why she wants it.
Sarah, no. I'm asking you if you could do these things. This is possible. You could go work at the post office. Could you do that?
Well, I tried to explain, but I like my life the way
I'm not asking if you like your life. I'm not asking if you like your life. I'm asking you do you think it's possible that you could sell stamps?
No, I'm too unstable. That's why I like.
She's crazy.
My own business. I just do as much as I feel like.
You're just too crazy, isn't that right, Sarah? You're too crazy. That's why you can't work.
Well, bipolar people, I like to do when I feel like the manically, I do everything, and then I get depressive, and I just drop everything. So I like this, my own business.
But amazingly, bipolar people are working all over the United States.
Yep, I know a lot of I won't drop anybody's names. I was gonna, but I know some people that are bipolar, really extreme cases. I mean, like some of the worst I've ever seen. I'm not even joking when I say that. Like, there's hospitalization.
Oh, no,
but anyways, they're working full time. Actually, they work 2 jobs, stabled.
Well, I mean, they must be on medications, but when they get off, they walk off a job. They're wandering around homeless, like 3,000 miles away. They blow their money.
Is that what happens to you? I'm just curious. Like, is that happening to you?
The thing is, I have done that stuff before. I drop everything, hitchhike to another town, wander around. I mean, but I catch
Are you on
myself
medication?
doing it. I'm supposed to be, but I don't take it. But I'm a little bit stable. But I like my life, and I have meetings. I meet. That's why I like Starbucks. I like to meet up with people to do presentations at Starbucks because I like their hours. And I'm like, I love their coffee. Why is that workers having to strike? I don't understand it.
They don't have to strike. They're only striking at 100 stores. That's hardly any stores.
Yeah, but I thought they were being paid fairly. I try to.
They are. The problem is they want more. I mean, you can't blame somebody for wanting to get paid more, right? Like I understand that. That's who doesn't want to get paid more.
Right.
But the question is, what are you actually worth in the marketplace? And these are things, of course, that Sarah doesn't understand. Thank you for the call tonight. Appreciate hearing from you. But there's a certain going rate for a barista. There's a certain amount that even the best barista is worth, right? Like, I don't know what that is, but I don't know if it's that much higher than the, average barista. Maybe it is. Or maybe they just figure, okay, well, we're gonna get paid more with tips. So you'll start at the same rate hourly, and if you're better than the other ones, you'll make more in the tip jar. Then, of course, if they're splitting the tip jar evenly between everybody that's in the workplace,
well, we all know that doesn't really happen. Really, splitting it evenly.
You don't think?
Not all the time. No.
I've never worked at Starbucks.
You got $100 tip, and then there's a jar of $100 that's supposed to be split. You think you're splitting your 100 evenly amongst everyone?
Yeah, you wouldn't know if it was 100 for you or 100 for somebody else.
But what I'm saying, you got in your pocket.
It's Free Talk Live.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join the show in these remaining moments. The number is 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian.
And Joa.
Joa of Breaking the Flaw. You can follow his channel on Odyssey and still on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm still on YouTube, but mostly there. Odyssey.
Yeah, check him out on your preferred platform. But he's been dealing with a situation over the last couple weeks now involving a corrupt, as many of them are, politician who's not just corrupt but also violent. Usually politicians let the thugs do their enforcement for them. This one attacked you physically,
yes,
Joa, during a recent gathering of protesters outside of a debate that happened. Yeah. Video is available at freekeene.com.
Indisputable video.
Crystal clear, yeah. And this guy accused you of hitting him,
correct,
when in point of fact, he was the one who hit you, and that's what the video shows.
Yes.
You want to bring a lawsuit against this guy.
Well, I did file a complaint against him at the police, and they sent me an email a couple of days ago saying they're still looking into it.
Still investigating. But you've approached a lawyer in the meantime because, it's not a bad idea to have one of those.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
But they usually want to get paid, right? And so this guy wants $1,600?
Correct. $1,600 to take on this case, and I believe that he's going to do a good job because he's helped me in the past.
In theory, you'll make it back, right? Like, in theory, you'll be able to cover the costs with a settlement check.
Correct. Yeah. Ideally, but realistically, I need $1,600 just to get this lawyer.
All right.
And
you're doing a fundraiser.
That's correct. And you can go to givebutter.com/flaw, FLAW. And Give Butter is great because it's you have a choice if you want to donate to Give Butter. So they ask for $1, and everything that you donate on there goes directly to my lawyer. It's going to be transferred directly to him. It's not going to go in my hands at all.
Okay.
That's nice. Yep. Yeah, it's up to you if you want to donate to them. They do not require it. And yeah, $1,600 is going to go a long way, guys.
Debit card, credit card donations?
I believe so, yeah. I think it takes just about anything there in that sense. But yeah, my lawyer's a good lawyer. He's helped me before in the past. I got a settlement, but now I need to go after Goffstown and against these criminal charges, misdemeanor, right? Misdemeanor B charges, which, I could just see a fine. I'm not going to see jail time, I don't think.
Looks like payment options include PayPal, Google Pay, Venmo, and paying with a debit or credit card.
Right. All right.
You're currently at 1,000 something.
1,025, I think.
1,025. So more than half the way to the goal.
It only took me a day to do that,
and that's really good.
Yeah.
For one day.
For real. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Thank you, everyone that's donated so far. So
yeah. So you can jump in there. Go to givebutter.com/flaw. Now tell me about the Give Butter. Are they, are they going to get all uppity? Are they going to find out that you're an activist?
I don't think so. No, they've helped other people in the past. No. It's much better site. There's another one like Give Go Send or something.
Give Send Go.
Give Send Go. Yeah, they're similar like that. Yeah, and like so, there's multiple of them that people prefer, and Give Butter is like that. And I believe that they're using Give Butter during the trucker thing up in Canada.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, it's reliable. It's not something they can shut down if, not saying that they would, but they can watch the video themselves and determine if what they think and keep me up or not.
Givebutter.com/flaw if you want to help him out. So let's see. You had a news story tonight about corporate shoplifting going on. What is happening out there?
Well, I'm really surprised. I just listened to this video here. We're not going to watch it. I listen to it now, but they were saying that last year it was $400 million at Target is how much they got stolen, and over $20 million nationwide.
20 billion.
Sorry, 20 billion.
Wow. Okay.
Of stolen goods. But Target is blaming shoplifting for the big hit on its profits.
Professional shoplifters.
Correct.
These are like serious gang operations.
Right. Where it's not just like individual, like sneaky behind underneath
not just
your clothes.
Some crackhead that wants to steal some lipstick or whatever.
This is a group of people, and they would go and target businesses. They've done it in San Francisco to other big, retailing
We've talked
outlets.
about it here. Have you seen the video of this stuff happening? It's crazy.
Yes, yeah.
It's crazy. Dudes just going into like CVS or Walgreens with literally like a huge knapsack. They will ride their bicycle into the store and just walk around and throw stuff off the shelves into this big bag and then just walk out.
Yeah, Target's saying they lost $600 million. They're projected to have lost over $600 million, over $500 million
in 1 year.
In profits.
And that's
just
up
1
from
year.
$400 million?
Yep.
In the last year?
Correct.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy.
And I don't know if you ever knew about this story. This guy in like San Francisco, I think it was, he has a convenience store of some sort, and because the law in California says you can steal up to $200 of goods and not get arrested for it, or I don't remember.
It's higher than that.
It's higher than that. It was like, I think you're right. It was like 800 or something.
Yeah, it's
900.
like 8 or 9, somewhere in that range.
Well, the guy
you can do misdemeanor and they do nothing basically.
Well, basically he upcharged everything in the store over like $990, and then he had a coupon. And that said, gives you a discount, and so that it would make it normal retail price.
So normal customers get the regular price.
Right. So if you steal, say you stole five items that goes over $5,000, now you're committing a felony.
That's smart. Where was this guy located?
I think it was San Francisco because he had a real problem with it. That's where it started.
That's where a lot of this is happening. But you're saying it's spreading out of San Francisco and it's going to other cities.
Well, yeah, it's everywhere now, and we've seen a lot of videos. I'm sure if you've paid attention to them.
Well, I don't know if it's everywhere. We don't hear a lot about it up here. I've not heard about it.
Well, yeah, it's hard to happen here in New Hampshire because everyone carries.
Right.
Right.
I mean, you're probably not going to get, well, I don't know. Yeah, the criminals are probably nervous about doing it here for good reason.
And yeah, so CFO Michael Fidelki, I think that's his name, Fidelki, said in an earning conference call this past week, this is an industry-wide problem that is often driven by criminal networks, and this is very organized.
Yeah, basically, from what I read when we talked about this before, was they hire losers, right? Like, so they'll hire homeless people or whatever to go in and take the risk and do the actual shoplifting, and then they pay them, right, for whatever fraction of the value. So they hire some homeless drug addict. He goes into the store, and he loads up a bag full of stuff, takes it back to these people. They give him crack or whatever it is that they're going to pay him with.
Right, because what is he risking? Some free food in jail?
Yeah, and
right.
then they sell the stuff on eBay or whatever.
But usually what they do is like these flash mob type robberies.
That happens too.
Where they get 20 to 40 people, maybe more. I've seen huge crowds, and they go in and they just sweep out the entire store, and they're out of stock.
Yeah, that's insane. And that stuff is leading to stores just giving up entirely. I mean, we've seen stores like CVS and Walgreens, they're starting to lock down shelves. So you've seen, and I'm sure everyone's seen the areas of stores, and they're usually very seldom in better areas where this stuff isn't happening like crazy. It's usually like the highest dollar stuff, right? The most expensive stuff. You got to call a staff member over. They come with a key. They open it up. Now it's like shampoo.
Yeah. Like they have a video here, and they're talking about how in Las Vegas, Minneapolis, and other places, they're now locking up toothpaste.
Yeah. Seriously.
Toothpaste is expensive.
$6, $4 items.
Yeah, those
Seriously.
are easy to pocket. I mean,
it's crazy. But that's the thing. These people aren't being subtle about it. They're just coming right in and just clearing off shelves.
Yep. And it's like even Rite Aid in New York City is having a problem with this. And I can see people just walking in and walking out at Rite Aid. And I have seen, and I think it was Boston, I've seen armed guards at just regular convenience stores. Are they really effective? I don't know.
Well, it depends. What are they authorized to do? Are they just authorized to stand there and look tough?
They are. That is exactly what they're there for.
They can't actually do anything.
They could stand in the way, and then if the guy pushes them out of the way while he's trying to steal stuff, then that guy can be charged with assault. So the security can't put hands on. Only if someone's in imminent danger, they're allowed to put hands on.
I don't know if that's true everywhere, okay? Because when
they can hold them.
When I was growing up in Florida working at Kmart, the loss control guy was allowed to detain a shoplifting suspect, but he had to witness it. Right. He couldn't just think somebody was shoplifting and hold them, but if he saw him, then he could hold him to the police.
Well, they can easily just watch the video real quick and then hold you.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, that's pretty much it with this article here.
But again, that may not be true in California, right? Like there may be different rules where store security isn't allowed to put hands on people. So I don't know if it's true everywhere. That would be a question that would be interesting to find out.
Hey, here's some numbers for you. In 2020, 32,000 retail thefts. It's up to almost 44,000.
Wow.
And that was last year. So 44,000 was 2021. And we're expecting it to be a higher number here this year.
And if you don't like paying higher prices for things, I got bad news for you. Prices go up, the more the things get stolen. More stuff gets stolen just means the regular customers,
the money out of your pocket.
They have to pay for it because the store has to raise the prices to
make
compensate.
Up the difference.
Right. So, all you're not hurting the corporation if you're stealing. You're hurting your neighbors.
Right.
We'll see you tomorrow. Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold bag. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, Mark at freetalklive.com.